Just walk away. Just walk away. And there will be to the horror.
Okay, and we're live. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Sirias. I'm here with Nick, and we have a special guest, Andy Nowicki. If you guys want to know more about him, I will put a link to his channel in the show notes of this video. I think I already have, so you can research it, his material on your own. But in the meantime, Nick, why don't you give a little introduction to Andy for the listeners?
All right. Real quick, I found Andy about maybe 2 or 3 years ago while I was living in Cambodia, just surfing the internet at some cafe while I was in Phnom Penh. Andy Nowicki is an author of a series of books titled Ruminations of a Low Status Male. The 4th volume of the books will be out soon. I'm sure he'll be discussing it. His website is altrightnovelist.com, and his YouTube channel is his name, where he does daily vignettes on social commentary, MGTOW, and just his view on the world. So, Andy, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure, and good to meet the two of you.
Great. Well, we want to get into it. One thing I was curious about, and I remember, Andy, Nick knows a lot more about your content than I do. But one thing I found interesting is that you kind of introduce yourself as the alt-right author, correct?
Yes, altrightnovelist.com is my my author page.
Okay, altrightnovelist.com. There we go. And so I wanted you to, if you could, give us sort of a clinical definition of alt-right, and maybe your own definition if it's any different.
That's funny, a clinical definition.
Yeah, if there is one.
Well, it's funny because it's a term that has, I think, gone through some changes. When I first started writing for Richard Spencer's website alternativeright.com in 2010, Richard Spencer was not the notorious character that he is today. He wasn't well known at all. He had, I think, spent some time editing Talkie Mag, and had written a couple of articles for the American Conservative, and then he had some name. There was some name recognition in some circles, but he wasn't like Mr. Alt-Right, the sort of public figure that he is today, that everybody loves to hate. So when I first started writing for that site back then, being alternative right, which was a term that wasn't coined by Richard originally, but he took it and he used it and sort of made it his own. So I mean, I think it's fair to say that he in some way originated the term. But at the time, it was a small group of writers and thinkers that just had a notion of the right, a notion of conservatism that was different from the norm, and more of a traditionalist perspective, more critical of just materialistic capitalism, more critical of certain things that I think some American conservatives would just let fly.
Right.
And I think, and also I would say, more of an intellectual take on things, generally speaking, more of an interest in the arts and so forth, as opposed to the sort of typical, what you think of as the typical red state conservative kind of,
right.
the the meat and potatoes kind of people. Who nothing not to put them down, but
Right.
this was a very different sort of phenomenon, and different from the inside the way kind of National Review, Cato Institute versions of conservatism. And so at the time it was writers and people with various ideas, and it was a fairly big tent. I think there were a lot of people who were pagans, but there were some Christians too. I'm Catholic, and I was welcomed in, and and got along with people, and so orientation wise, I think there were a lot of different ideas about what the alt-right was, and that was part of what made it appealing. It was a big tent, but at some point, well, it was a long, convoluted history, and around 2013 or so, Richard Spencer decided he was tired of the term alt-right or alternative right. That he thought that it had run its course and didn't want to do it anymore. So he basically chucked the name and closed down the site. But Colin Liddell, the other assistant editor, and myself decided to keep the site going, and we started it our own incarnation of the site on Blogger, which is the one that's still up. And so that was around 2013, 2014, and then it seems like with the recent elections, I guess starting in 2015, because elections take so damn long in America now. But with Donald Trump and his rise to prominence, the alt-right became this new kind of thing that in many ways I'm not as fond of. It became this vehicle for trolling. People would get on Twitter and say obnoxious things intentionally to get under the skin of liberals, and I mean some of that's fun and funny. But it can get old, and it's not really my thing. It's not really what I was ever oriented towards. But it seemed like with the election, with Trump getting the nomination, and then the general election, and then Hillary Clinton actually mentioning the alt-right by name in a speech in August of 2016, then things really took a different turn, and all of a sudden alt-right became not a household name. I mean, I'm not deluded about it being bigger than it is, but it became something that the mainstream press focused in on and fixated on, and seemed just intent on tearing to shreds and vilifying, and suddenly we were a target, and in a way that before nobody really knew about us particularly, and so things took another turn after Trump. After his election, especially, that's when everybody really went nuts, the mainstream, and they haven't stopped. I mean, it's just been absolutely ridiculous ever since November of 2016 up to now. They're just in.
It's gotten worse.
They've gotten worse. It's just full throttle hysteria all the time. It's like election season all the time. I can't stand it. I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't listen to the radio. If the news is on, I just avoid it. Do everything I can to avoid it nowadays.
Now you said you were you've mentioned previously something about SPLC mentioning you and stuff. Now when I'm listening to you, and I've listened to you for a while now. I've consumed quite a number of hours listening to your content. I've never got the feel of some type of hatred or animosity towards certain groups of people listening to you. I mean, you seem a very like an even keel person. You kind of just point to something and give your definition and your ideas on what it is and stuff. So I've never listened to, I've never heard anything negative you've ever said about anything or anyone. So I don't see how the SPLC would come after you, or people would start attacking you. It's very strange.
Wait. You're in the SPLC's radar?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're in the SPLC's radar?
I'm on the SPLC and the ADL's. I mean,
unbelievable.
I made
amazing.
the list.
Congratulations, man! I had no idea.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There was a list composed last summer, in the summer of 2017, of the alt-right and the alt-light, naming the hate, I think is the name of the article. You can look it up.
Wow.
And I make the list. I'm on there. I'm one of them. And I think it's strange too. I mean, I don't know if I never say anything negative about anybody. I think I say negative things about a lot of people and a lot of things, but sometimes. But
you're never like vilifying. You're never like really like, going after. You know, you kind of just say, yeah, this guy over here, he's pushing a narrative, and over here, there's this going on. So it's never. Right. Again, it's just social commentary that you're pointing out, and I don't see anything really that wrong with it.
And I'm not fixated. I mean, race has never been my main issue. I mean, I think that's maybe something that is different from me and the rest of maybe a lot of the rest of the alt-right, if not the whole of the rest of the alt-right. I'm not a white nationalist. I mean, I think race exists. I think that it is a thing, but I don't see it as the most important thing, and certainly to me, it's not the most interesting thing. Or the most relevant thing. I think culture is much more interesting and relevant.
Well, this was just to interrupt for a second. This was something that I had mentioned in kind of in jest, in a way to troll liberals on Twitter, which is a wonderful pastime. But if you, I remember saying to them, the alt-right only exists in like movies and television shows. Like it's not a real thing. It just exists in sort of this fantasy world. It's not real. That's the way I always saw it, because it just seemed like if you're inundated by mainstream media and pop culture, which leans hard left,
right,
by its nature. If you're inundated by that, and that's getting the most exposure, then obviously you get this Looney Tunes version of what alt-right is defined as. So.
Yeah, and it's weird that the alt-right is. I'm still getting used to that, to the alt-right being mentioned in movies and TV shows, and like there was some episode of Law and Order or some similar show, or CSI, where there was a character who was supposed to be Richard Spencer, essentially, and he gets assassinated, and all this kind of stuff. It's just I think ever since Hillary Clinton made it. Put it out there in the public eye as a means of trying to smear Trump, to say, of Trump, these are your real followers, or these are the people who really like Donald Trump, when that's not even true. I mean, most of the people who like Trump and voted for Trump don't have any idea who the alt-right are. But it has become, you're correct, that it's become a phenomenon of something that it's this boogeyman. That's basically what it is. It's a boogeyman for the media and the establishment, and so anything that they don't like, they call it an alt-right something, alt-right this or alt-right that. This is an alt-right conspiracy theory. This is just alt-right hysteria, alt-right mania. Anything that they can clamp that label on, they do. And so that's where we're at right now.
Well, you also have to understand that me being MGTOW and my channel being MGTOW, and relatively anybody that's going to be watching this is MGTOW. MGTOW as what I call a discipline. That's what I kind of call it now. MGTOW as a discipline leans right. MGTOW as a discipline cannot mix with the left. It's impossible. So that's another reason why you're going to have. That's why you're going to start seeing MGTOW bleed over under alt-rights, and I don't think MGTOW has been targeted by.
I think it has. I think it does. It's like to me, I think it's actually somewhat of a branch of the alt-right. This disgruntled, not getting laid, working class white people gets
angry white men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although it's not. I mean, if the interesting thing is there's a ton of non-white MGTOW. I mean, on YouTube.
There's lots of black.
There's a lot of black MGTOW and some Asians and
European
and probably some Hispanics too. I mean, I don't know. Is MGTOW as prominent yet? Is it like, I know there's some newspaper articles here and there, but
that mention it.
Do you think that it's gotten to be something that is on the radar screen for the mainstream yet?
Not
Or has
really.
it not quite gotten
No.
that point?
We don't, and we're MGTOW's lucky. We don't need to be. I mean, even if MGTOW makes a lot of noise, which it generally by its nature doesn't. I mean, the whole idea of MGTOW is sort of is walking away, not fucking walking into
Yes.
it.
Hermit living.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so but what takes a lot of the heat away from us is men's rights groups, man.
Yeah.
They take every bit of heat. Like we can stand shoulder to shoulder with people that call themselves MRAs or MRMs and pretty much agree with 95%, maybe 90% of the stuff. I mean, there is a little bit of conservative traditionalism in men's
Right.
rights groups, which is
Yes.
pretty non-existent in MGTOW. So we don't agree on everything, but we can stand next to them and look a lot the same.
We'll cheer for them. We'll
Yeah.
cheer for them.
Yeah, we'll cheer for them. But they're the ones that take the heat in the media. And any big names like anyone from A Voice for Men like Paul Elam or any other big names, there's even women that represent men's right groups, they get nailed hard. They get nailed real hard.
Yeah, that's true.
MGTOW, nah. They everybody thinks we're not worth the time, so.
Hmm. Or they might just not know about it.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's true.
I think they do know, and they just don't want to acknowledge it because they rather MGTOW be passive in what's going on and not be sacrificial, like in men's rights activists, in a way that they will stand out there and be a martyr for men, versus where MGTOW doesn't want a martyr for anybody or anything.
Right.
So in the comments, Prune Juice Power says, "Is alt-right the far right, or is it the X-Men of rightism?"
Well, I think we have superpowers, so it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, there you go.
We are the far right, but we also have superpowers, so we got the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. Well,
There you go.
so yeah, I think anytime you talk about politics leaning right, you're going to run into MGTOW people, you're going to run into men's rights groups people. And I often say to people that don't really know MGTOW that well, I say, look, by the very nature of this discipline, MGTOW would lead to extinction. So obviously, this isn't a movement to take over the world, man.
Right.
No. And it's a little strange. Like the people who argue against MGTOW, what are they arguing? They're arguing,
Well,
no, you shouldn't go off on your own and do what you want to do. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue against somebody who's only saying, look, I just want to take my own path and do what I want to do, and so there's something almost pushy about somebody muscling their way in and saying, no, you can't do that. You have to find a wife.
Yes.
Well, that's actually my fight with Ayam, because I agree with most of MGTOW, but I'm not I'm not a minimalist. I don't believe in minimalism. I want to have nice things. Growing up on Long Island, there's a lot of wealth here. There's a lot of nice, materialistic things, nice cars, nice homes, yada yada yada. This MGTOW minimalism where you live in 400 square foot apartment, and everything you own is in your backpack, and not having children, not having religion in your life, not having all these type of things, and you just allowing the world around you just burn to the ground. I don't agree with that part of MGTOW. That's why I don't like to go too far off with MGTOW.
Not the Tyler Durden style of MGTOW.
Tyler Durden style MGTOW, yeah. But you know what? Okay, you might not know. Well, I guess we introduced each other in the beginning, but just in case to reiterate, as a MGTOW man, I'm a single father, and I'm not religious, but I'm a deist. I believe in God, so I might fall into a spectrum of MGTOW that might not be as mainstream. I don't know, but I definitely take from it what benefits me in my life now, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah, so why don't we get into Nick? Some of the videos that he
I wanted to talk rumination of a low status male. I mean, I really like your writings. I enjoyed it. I read them when I'm on my way to on my way to work on the train.
Oh wow!
And
Thanks.
you do your vignettes that every day you do 1 or 2 videos, 10, 15 minutes, You do
Right.
them in your beat up car. I love it.
Yes.
Best time to ruminate is when you're driving, obviously. So I guess you have an epiphany while driving. You're like, that's a good thing. I should bring that up.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your books and your latest one?
Mm. Well, I actually have. I've published quite a few books with smaller companies affiliated with the alt-right, generally speaking. I've published a few through Countercurrents, and my first book ever is called Considering Suicide, and it was
Yes.
published. It was
Very
published.
popular, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Relatively speaking, I guess, but it was 9-banded books published at a very small publisher out of West Virginia, run by a man named Chip Smith. Interesting guy. So that was the first thing I published, and that was 2009. And then after that, I got in this I had this streak going. I don't know if either of y'all do y'all write?
Yeah, I do a little bit of writing, yeah, for sure.
Okay. I mean, you know, if you write, you know that sometimes inspiration strikes, and sometimes it's
never there.
Sometimes the muses keep themselves aloof from you, and you are just left there, sitting in front of your computer screen or at your notebook, wanting to write something but not being able to. Well, after I published Considering Suicide, I had this incredibly fertile time of writing that I still feel blessed to have gotten. I don't know why it happened exactly, but so I published several books in between 2010 and I guess around 2014. That was when the streak more or less came to an end. But and I was publishing a lot of fiction during that time. It's not like I said, it was small companies, and it's not that extensive. It's not that well read, but I still felt like I was onto something, and it was the muses were singing, and I was dutifully scribbling down what they were telling me. And so I published a book called The Columbine Pilgrim in I guess it was actually published in 2011, early 2011, which was based on the Columbine shooting in a way, but it was fictionalized. It was about somebody who was obsessed with Columbine, and then he makes a pilgrimage to Columbine High School in Colorado, and then the story we learn about his past, and the story unfolds from there. It's a very, very dark and violent book, but it was exciting to write. It was just like it was, inspiration struck, and so I published that novel. It's a novella. It's around 120 pages, and I by the way, that's another thing. I don't write long books for whatever reason. I can't really do length that well.
Okay.
But so I published I'll just shorten what I'm saying here. The Columbine Pilgrim, and then after that, later in 2011, I published a book called Under the Nile, Nihil, which was about a similar protagonist, and that was also published through Countercurrents, which is another, again, an alt-right publishing house. Also has a website, counter-currents.com, run by Greg Johnson. And then a few more. I published a book called Heart Killer, and one called Beauty and the Least, and I'm trying to think, collection of short stories called Lost Violent Souls, and then another collection called I can't think of the name right now. I'll have to look it up.
That's
but
okay.
a couple of different collections. Yeah, it's not that important. I mean, it's important, but it's, I don't want to dwell on the titles right now. So that lasted, like I said, through 2013 and getting into 2014, and then for whatever reason, inspiration didn't totally dry up, but it left the building largely.
Yeah.
And so since then I've been compelled. I haven't really done much fiction. It was like when I was in this period of intense creative work, I felt compelled to write fiction, and since that time has come to an end, nonfiction comes much easier, and I've turned to, I guess, what could be called, in some cases, autobiographical works, and in some cases just somewhat musing philosophical work, but also informed by autobiographical commentary or personal memories that buttress that help to buttress whatever the point is that I'm making, and just that reflect on not only my own life and things that I've learned, but also things that I believe to be interesting or important or dire enough to know about the state of the culture right now. So since that time, I published a book called Confessions of a Would-Be Wanker. That was that was published in 2014, and it's a strange title, but I think maybe a striking title, kind of like Ruminations of a Low Status Male is also. And so since 2014 or so, in the works of mine that I've published, like Confessions of a Would-Be Wanker, and also another one called Notes Before Death, and now Ruminations of a Low Status Male, which is something that I kind of conceived of as, I don't know if you guys remember the zine culture, the zine scene, like before.
When was that?
Kind of before the internet rolled around. There were a lot of underground or non-mainstream, off the beaten path kind of places that put out zines, like just cheaply made, essentially magazines, but
Oh, okay.
but not like, I don't know if you know Jim Goad and his work. He writes for Talkie Mag, and he wrote a book called The Redneck Manifesto, which was pretty influential for me. But he had a zine called Answer Me that he did in the 90s, and what I thought of Ruminations of a Low Status Male being is something like that, where it's written in serialized form. There's a volume 1, volume 2, and a volume 3, and like you said, I'm working on the volume 4 right now currently, and each volume has its own. I mean, they're all the title informs what most of them are about. I mean, it's Ruminations of a Low Status Male. That's
Right.
That's what it's about. But
that title drew me into more getting to know your work more and stuff, was because I can see that title being lumped in with MGTOW in many ways.
Yes, I can understand. I can understand that. Although, like I was saying on one of my YouTube after one of my YouTube videos, in response to somebody else, it seems to me that MGTOW sometimes, and maybe this is something we don't necessarily agree on. I don't know. I couldn't tell from the way one of you responded to me, but it seems to me that a lot of MGTOW actually aren't low status. It seems like some of them are guys who have had financial success and who have had success with women, but but they've gotten burned and lost a lot of their resources and just got a really shitty deal, and now they're just keeping their distance from women because they want to protect what they've got, which suggests that they've got things, which suggests that they are maybe higher status.
Well, I've been called, I've been assumed to live in my mother's basement. But I mean,
Uh-huh.
but I'm certainly not low
Why have
status.
you been assumed? Just
Because
because?
because I'm a MGTOW. All I have to
Oh,
do is say
okay.
I'm MGTOW.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're ugly. You can't get laid, and you live in your mother's basement.
Yeah. Right. That's right.
That's the
I mean, that's
typical knee jerk, reaction to when
yeah.
someone says something that's considered it's sort of negative view towards women. And living in New York, I know many young men that are successful that do have a lot of money who simply cannot find spouse or a girlfriend for that matter, or let alone a female to speak to them. So it's not just low
Mm.
status males at this point. And I think a lot, we discuss on this channel a lot. Women today, especially Western women, white women, have a much their sense of wealth is way
Is it the
way higher.
80-20 rule that I hear about
Right.
a lot?
Yeah, correct. And that definitely seems to be taking, that
Yeah.
seems to be the situation in North America now.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So maybe. So yes. So the recent, just to finish what I was talking about
Yes.
before, the most recent stuff I've written has been the Ruminations of a Low Status Male series, if you will, where they're all fairly short, but and I self-publish them on YouTube. I mean on Amazon, and they can be purchased for very cheap, either on in paperback or on Kindle. And so they're short, but they're also cheap. So
They're fun little reads. I enjoy it. It's a quick little
Yeah.
fun read. I
Right
definitely
on.
recommend people. That's a
Thank
grab
you.
a copy.
Thank
I'll
you.
definitely be picking some up for sure, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so that might serve as a way of us making the transition to talking more about MGTOW, if that's what y'all want to do.
Well, we
Well,
don't have
the,
to.
the big question I have for you, Mr.
Okay.
The big question I want to ask the big question for Mr. Nowicki,
Yeah.
and this what really drew me in was you did MGTOW with T. Kelly. I think maybe
Yes.
almost 6 months to a year ago now. I can't recall, but the
Yeah.
big question is, and this is the question I have for you, and I'm sure many of the listeners do: is MGTOW weaponized anthropology? Is this a psyop where they want men to go their own way and let women kind of just fall in love with dogs and prescription drugs?
Is it weaponized anthropology? Like, so this is what I hear actually some people on the alt-right. This is, when they make fun of MGTOW or put it down, they say, look, you got to, especially people of a white nationalist kind of orientation.
You got to have children.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
because the West is dying, the white population is shrinking, and just turning away and turning away from marriage, turning away from procreation is essentially treason to your race. This is the way a lot of them talk. So yeah, I hear about that, and I guess so your question is.
Hold on a second,
It
guys.
might be a
Hold on
rhetorical
second.
question,
Guys.
or it might be a question you have.
Sorry, guys. Sorry I interrupted. The stream
What?
just went down, but it's back up again.
What happened? Okay, sorry. Go on, Miss Nowicki.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it might be a question that you already have your own answer to, but yeah, I mean, I guess the question is it a conspiracy of some kind? Is it like something that or
Is it by
Is it
design?
engineered? Is it engineered?
Is it
from-
engineered?
yeah, is it something that the Jews have?
Yeah.
Have,
Well, see, when Nick brought that up to me, right? I believe in that. I believe there's such a thing as weaponized anthropology.
Sure.
Because I mean, even I didn't mention this to you, but when I was in Asia, I married a Muslim woman, so I had to convert to Islam. So to this
Oh,
day,
wow.
to this day, because you had to.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to. Like it was the law. If I wanted to marry her, she.
So were you serious about the Muslim faith
No,
while
no,
you
no.
were a Muslim?
I learned about it. I learned a hell of a lot about it. I studied it in depth.
Uh-huh.
But so I still wear the
Right.
name. I have no problem with it. But
Oh.
weaponized anthropology is mentioned in the Quran. I mean, God talks about it. He warns about it, actually. So, even from a religious perspective, even from ancient cultural perspective, I understand that, because here you have in the Quran God saying, here's this knowledge about how men and women relate. Don't use it. It's going to be used and be corrupted. So basically, weaponized anthropology. I mean, it's there. It exists in the book. So I do believe in it. But when it first came to my attention about MGTOW being that, obviously my response was kind of, okay, well, point me to the room that has the desk that in the drawer is the 100-page document signed Jewish Illuminati. Here's how we make MGTOW. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's hard to it's kind of hard to argue, because there's no smoking gun like that, but there's also no sure way to discount it.
Exactly.
And that can be said for any movement that arises. How many movements actually arise organically, and how many of them get some kind of push from somewhere?
Right.
Yeah.
That's something I'm not sure about, but it doesn't seem to me. I mean, I just don't believe that. I'm sympathetic to MGTOW myself, just because it seems like people should be able to. I'm very much against this whole. You gotta get married. You gotta procreate. It's your duty. I mean, because not everybody is called. We're all called to different things in life, I believe. And just like in the Catholic Church, there are people who are called to marriage, and there are people who are called to celibacy. And I think it's the same way. It's and that's the way it's always been in the Catholic and in the Orthodox churches. But with Protestantism, celibacy kind of got a bad rap and was essentially phased out, and people who are celibates now are seen as weird, or like they're hiding something, or like they're perverted, or there's a very unfriendly way of viewing people who stay single.
But and that's interesting, because a lot of MGTOW remain celibate, which is why a lot of the time I call it a discipline. I mean, it's almost like fasting. You're kind of fasting from the opposite sex for reasons that there's no benefit in it to you in your life right now.
Yeah.
So
you're learning to do without.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's a benefit, but the benefit is, it's like the long-term benefit outweighs the short-term pleasure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's interesting to think about. I mean, let's look at the contrast, and if I believe you'll understand when I say that a lot of people on both the left and the right consider MGTOW to be the gender equivalent of feminism.
Right.
And it's a real bizarre claim. It doesn't really make any sense if you it just takes a cursory look at both things and understand that they're not opposites.
Right.
But feminism.
Yeah, it's like it's. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I was just going to say it's something that I think honestly, a few months ago, it's maybe something I would have said in a way just before I really got to explore MGTOW a little bit more. That there's some superficial truth to it that okay, feminism is this way. Feminism is standing up for women and being critical of men for things that they do wrong, and MGTOW is standing up for men being critical of women for things they do wrong. And so superficially speaking, I saw the parallel, but feminism is you want to talk about something that's weaponized.
Yes.
Right.
It's hugely weaponized, and it has always been weaponized. I mean, it was the whole idea that I mean, Gloria Steinem had CIA ties, and without being too conspiratorial here, obviously getting more adults out of the house to work, that made it so that large corporations didn't have to pay their workers as much, and now we're in a situation, whereas 50 years ago or whatever, a man working a job could support a family of 4 or 5 and be able to buy a house and a car and whatever. Absolutely. Now mother and father both have to work, and we're only spinning our wheels, financially speaking.
That's right.
I mean, we're worse off.
Well, and another thing too is I don't know if you would agree with me when I say this, but if you were some all-powerful Jew rubbing your hands together trying to like weaponize
Yes.
anthropology, who would you target, men or women? Like, who would you target?
I see. Yeah, I mean, women.
Of course, you would target.
It'd be
women.
easier.
Way easier.
Yeah.
Women tend to be, and another aspect of MGTOW is really a comprehensive study of the differences of the genders, and women tend to be very groupthink, conformist, exactly. So if you had to weaponize anthropology in sort of manipulating Western culture, you would. If you're the hand rubbing Jew there in the corner, you're gonna fucking you're gonna.
Well, it falls right into their hands. Now you have men humping Pirelli tires like his turd flinging monkey does, and the women now have dogs as the baby and the man in the house. So I see a correlation 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's, like I said, it could be held to be true on a certain level, but like I was saying a couple minutes ago, I mean, there really is no comparison in the sense that MGTOW is not being funded by anyone that I know of. I mean, it's hard. It's barely known, and where it's known, it's reviled by the establishment, by the mainstream. Whereas feminism is worshipped. I mean, it is the mainstream. I mean, and if you don't buy into all the feminist tropes, then there's something wrong with you, and everybody comes down on you. So
you get censored, man.
So yes, all those things. So it's there's clearly not a parallel in that sense. It's clearly an uneven comparison in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. And then, it's having been myself MGTOW, calling myself MGTOW for the last, maybe 6 years, maybe 6 years. Nobody that has found out, except obviously in my community, my MGTOW community, but nobody that if I say, hey, I'm MGTOW, is going to pat me on the fucking back.
Right. Well, they're probably going to say, "What? You're what?"
Yeah, you're what?
I mean, that's probably the first thing.
Are you gay? You don't want to have a girl.
Yeah, they'll probably.
Well, they might assume that, or they might just if you talk to anybody, if you talk to people in your hometown or wherever, you're just not pursuing women. You're not interested. It's just not what you want to do. They probably say, "Oh, well, you just need to put yourself out there, or you need to
try harder."
Well, I will make a point though, is that the baby boomers, the people born in the 50s and 60s, their children are still not married or have children of their own. My father finally made a note that he has 4 sons in his 20s. They all don't have girlfriends or wives. So even the baby boomers are now kind of waking up. Okay, there's something going on here. Now people getting into their 30s, the millennials, and they're still somehow being subsidized by their parents, whether it's through health insurance, living at home, paying their cell phone bill or car insurance, what have you. And I think they're a little bit late to the ball game and realizing there's a bit of a problem. But my father finally made a note that there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
So did you talk to him about MGTOW?
Yeah, he's aware of the stream and everything like that, and he doesn't know how to respond to it because in so many ways MGTOW is right.
He doesn't have anything. He would argue with it if he could.
Yeah, and he's married twice already, and he's treated like the donkey in both marriages. So he can't really, he's got no ammo against me, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah, my thing, where I connect with MGTOW, and again, I don't I'm a MGTOW sympathizer. I'm a MGTOW fellow traveler,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. But I'm not. I don't call myself MGTOW. But where I sympathize with MGTOW is that I do think that we live in a time where it's like there is this, if not overt hostility towards anything male, there's just an indifference. I mean, like, whereas with girls and with females, there's just this endless kind of indulgence and this sort of you go girl kind of mentality, and it's like women are just perfect the way they are, and you know, they shouldn't be asked to change because they're perfect. And nobody's perfect. Men aren't perfect, women aren't perfect.
Right.
So it's not, for me, it's like, it's the culture. I mean, it's there's something really screwed up about the culture, and you know, I don't think that men are inherently more noble than women, but I, by nature or anything like that. I think we're different, but I do think we live at a time. Well, like for instance, in one of my recent videos, I traveled to the local Barnes and Noble bookstore, and there's this setup, there's this display, books for unstoppable inspirational books for unstoppable girls, and it's like, I mean, like,
It's everywhere. It's omnipresent at this point.
yeah, I mean, and you know, like, there's the Hillary Clinton, Chelsea Clinton book, which is blech. And then like an autobiography of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I mean, most of them are just awful people.
They won't
but,
sell. They won't sell, yet they get published, which is really. You know,
but yeah, they're still being pushed on. Yeah,
right.
And my point was, though, in the video was to say, not that it's bad that they're saying they're trying to, you know, help girls out by putting these books on display, but where are the books for boys? Where in the bookstore is, you know, we know that it's hard being a boy. You know, here's some books that maybe you want to read that'll be good, that'll be helpful for you. I mean, nobody cares. That's what I think is so appalling. And
well, this goes right into Star Wars, how they really want to kill off Luke Skywalker. And I know you've mentioned this many times, and me and Ayam have also discussed this
talked about it,
quite often, about how now they're changing movies and they want to, you know, rewrite the script. So.
Right, make the Ghostbusters. Oh, that was the debacle last year.
And how successful is that, eh?
It was terrible. Yeah, I mean, it flopped, of course, which it should have.
Yeah.
But I mean, why again with that? And you know, I had people, some people challenging me on, well, what's wrong with female Ghostbusters? And I was just saying, well, it's a franchise that was established, that was made where they were men, and that was it. It was, the Ghostbusters were for men, and it's like, if you want to make a movie with women fighting ghosts or something, that's okay, but don't make them the Ghostbusters, because the Ghostbusters already existed.
Yes.
And they were you know, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis, and I can't remember the Ernie whatever.
You forgot the black guy's name.
I forget the guy. Well, actually, I forget the guy who's the least funny of the four, who has the least to do, the least defined character of the four of them. But yes. So the Ghostbusters were male, and just let the male characters continue to be male characters. Let the male franchise continue to be a male franchise. And I mean, but even that's too much. It's like anything where the men are. They want to make stuff where now they transform the men into women, and it's just, it's gotten out of hand.
Well,
and you can see it now. The women are much more hostile. They're angry. I mean, even if you just try to have a light banter with someone on a McDonald's line, you can just see, you just feel the cold, no empathy, very antisocial behavior coming from Western women.
But you know what? I think it's pushed. I mean, I have a strong sense that it's being pushed from on high. That it's.
Oh, absolutely.
If they would unplug this force from, it's like the same. the same force. It's the same forces from on high who. I remember going through a line again. I think maybe in that same bookstore, maybe it was in a drugstore or something, and seeing the transgender child on the cover of a magazine up front, and it was right next to something else, some other cover that was just as grown worthy, and I'm like, these are things being pushed by these slick journals, that have a lot of money behind them. I mean, this is the establishment. These are being funded from on high. They're being subsidized. It's not an organic thing so much, and that's why, I would say, you talk about meeting women in the line of McDonald's and them being hostile. I mean, I would say, if you can get these women apart from what's feeding into this hostility, which is a contrived hostility, that it's something. It's something that they're being trained to be, but if you can take them away from that, they're much more easy to joke with, and they'll listen to reason, and
I agree with you, but the problem is that MGTOW starts to mirror their actions. So I see again the animosity, the hatred towards just the general nature of women, like guys who get a divorce. That's it. All women are like this. They tend to broad brush when in fact there are very decent women out there. I mean, I meet them, day in and day out. But not all of them are. Again, it's getting harder and harder to find I guess what Paul Elam calls the unicorn.
Well,
right.
That's what you're
the
describing.
Nawalt.
What you're describing, Nick, is called red pill rage. It's real. It's very real. I mean, there's men have killed themselves because of it. So it's a very real phenomenon, man, and it's unhealthy and it's dangerous. But I think a lot of guys, they go through it, and hopefully they come out on the other end in better shape. Hello? You guys there?
Well, there's appendages within MGTOW, though. MGTOW likes to go libertarianism, where it's like, if you take the welfare away from women and kick women out of the workforce, they'll be, sucking your dick and making fucking hot pies and shit. And I'm like, guys, you can't. That's not the right direction. And I see a lot of that with MGTOW, and I don't agree with those type of things.
Yeah, well, MGTOW is apolitical, though. So you'll
say that, but I don't. For me and you, obviously, but if you view other MGTOW channels, it's Stefan Molyneux.
He's not MGTOW.
Like Prager University. But again, a lot of the MGTOW, I'm not singling anybody out, but if I view other MGTOW channels, you can see their subscriptions going towards Molyneux.
Okay, they'll go to the right for sure.
Peterson.
Yeah, it's okay. What I was going to say is MGTOW is apolitical, but by its nature, it's destined to lean right. It can't lean left. It's incompatible with the left.
It leads towards libertarianism.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It is a sort of just leave me alone and let me live my life the way I want to live my life. Yeah,
well, less government.
It would seem like it would be compatible with that.
Yeah, and not only is it, but think about this: less government, and what is more government controlled than the goddamn feminist movement?
Right. Exactly. And most of feminism, wants there to be bigger government, and wants more handouts.
I don't know how much bigger can this government get.
Well, if you're in Canada, it's probably. I mean, it's that Canada's more of a socialistic.
Yes, it is.
State, right? I mean, that's the impression I have.
It is, and the leader, our leader at the moment is little Justin Castro.
He's such a dork.
Yeah. Well, he's the bastard son of Fidel Castro, man. Everybody knows it.
I've heard that.
Yeah, everybody knows.
But I mean, what was it
that's
with him going around India wearing a sari or whatever? That was so ridiculous.
He's a fucking clown, man. He's a goddamn clown.
Yes. I can't see how anyone takes him seriously.
Well, that's the thing. Americans, all the other people, but the people on the left in America, they're shitting on Trump.
Right.
But take a look at fucking our prime minister.
Just look to the north.
Yeah, you want to see a real clown? Just look to the north.
Yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate with Trump because now Trump, especially after last weekend, I mean, now he's, even in my eyes, he's lost a lot of credibility. I don't think he's really looking out for best interest of the people. And there's a lot of people in mainstream media who champion Trump, and they're still throwing their weight behind Trump, despite putting Bolton as Secretary of State. Obviously the omnibus bill going through. So I can't really put my weight behind Trump anymore until I see a correction in some way.
Yeah, he seems to have gone more in the neocon direction of late.
Yep.
But maybe he's playing 4D chess, like I always say.
A lot of people are saying that.
Trump's
but again, I mean, how many more pieces do you want moved around? And this is the strategy. You have to read his book. I know what he's thinking. He's from New York, and yada yada yada. And I'm just like, no, man. I mean, Bolton, no wall. I really don't see immigration being cracked down like a lot of people like to believe. So I don't see it.
Mm.
Well, Andy, if you take a look at the live stream, you'll see I put up that meme as the backdrop, and it says, "What we need is a Disney princess who open carries, knows that taxation is theft, and wants to end the Fed." And I put that up kind of in honor of the last video you did.
And she's in a union.
Yeah.
That's I could definitely support that Disney princess. That sounds pretty hot to me, actually.
Exactly, I think so.
She's overweight.
Well,
and she has a dog. And she loves Zoloft.
Well, that's the Disney princess you were talking about. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because I didn't really follow that story of what was happening there.
Oh, you mean the video that I did today?
Yeah.
That was in reference to Planned Parenthood. Some Planned Parenthood group out of Pennsylvania tweeted, "We need a Disney princess who has had an abortion.
God.
We need a Disney princess," and then they listed some other. We need a Disney princess who is an undocumented immigrant.
You know what? I would love to see how they would do that.
Now was that today or was it yesterday they put that out?
Oh, it was a few days ago, and then they also said something like, "We need a Disney princess who is trans." So they were hitting all the bases, all the trendy causes, and then I guess
on Holy Week, mind you.
Yeah, and then I guess they got some flack for it, and then they deleted the tweet, but somebody saved it, and then it actually made a story in USA Today, which surprised me. I don't know if USA Today is going more towards the center, and like there may be less of the far left meat kind of media.
They're a nightmare, USA Today.
Well, this was covered. I mean, they covered the story. It seemed like this was the kind of territory that you would typically find like a Fox News story covering, or the Daily Mail out of England.
For the right.
Yeah, it was kind of that kind of thing, which was interesting, surprising to me. But so in any case, they deleted it. They took it down, but then they didn't really apologize for it. They just their spokeswoman came on and said, "Well, we were just trying to get the conversation going, but we decided this wasn't the forum for it, so we took the tweet down." But I mean, it was just like, it's like one of those things where you just, and like I said in my video today, I don't like to wring my hands and just talk about how terrible things are, or I don't like outrage porn.
Right, that was a term, outrage porn. Yeah,
it's like it works as clickbait, but I just don't. It doesn't do much for me.
To get people agitated.
It gets people agitated. It gets you agitated with no outlet, and that's really not a healthy thing. So I was just trying to reflect on it. Like, this is really how bad they are. Like, this is like, wow, this is what they want. They want everything that's innocent to be absolutely smeared and
shat
in
on.
Shit. I mean, essentially. Yeah. And sometimes it's you there are certain things that happen. There are certain magazines publish certain articles, Teen Vogue publishing an article about anal sex. Bill Nye doing this that now notorious
What a joke.
song, the My Sex Junk song.
Yeah.
And then things like this with Planned Parenthood and other incidences like that, where it's like, wow, these people are really they want to absolutely destroy the culture. They're after. This is what they're after. This is what's bad to a normal person is what's good to them.
To
and
them,
sometimes
yeah.
it just takes your breath away from time to time. So
It's
that was just what I was
totally
doing.
perverse, man. Absolutely perverse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
these I find it they have a lot of balls too, man. They have huge fucking balls.
Yeah.
Because to
Yeah.
do that,
They're
like,
brazen.
yeah, absolutely brazen. And I can't, like, I couldn't see anyone I know within my circles of friends and family that would, be on board with that. Yeah, that's a great idea. I just can't see it. So these guys have fucking balls, man.
No, normal people don't aren't into that. But unfortunately, the people. I mean, the scum has risen to the top. The people who are in charge, by and large, they seem to be wanting all the changes that they want to affect are really bad. Really negative. They're taking us in all the wrong directions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're left to speculate about what the purpose is behind all of this. Like I've gone back and forth. There was a time when I thought, I was against things like American imperialism, like the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and other things, which I'm still against it. But just to be clear, but I thought that back then that the goal was going to be to take this crap culture that we have in the West and to try to enforce it on the rest of the world. That was what they were going to try to do. I don't really think that's the case though anymore. I think that with this push for mass immigration, it seems that what they're after is to like feminism. I really think it's mainly about destroying or emasculating the white man, the Western man, and because but as far as other cultures go, there's no effort being made to to take feminism to Muslim countries that I have seen. I mean,
That's not gonna work, man.
Well, the social engineering for other nations is going to be a much more long and drawn out process, especially for Africa, where they still, throw a tire over someone's head and light it on fire for sorcery.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
going to take much longer. It's going to be much longer. But yeah, I see it when I was in Cambodia with Facebook. And how now everyone's got to learn English, and there's only
Right.
14, 15 million people that can speak Khmer or Khmer.
Right.
So now there's a massive push for them to speak English or Mandarin for that matter. So you can see that they'll erode other countries through linguistics and through the computer and the internet. I mean, why is it so important for North Korea to have a Wi-Fi connection? Well, everyone needs to be connected to the internet. Well, why? What for? What's behind that?
Yeah.
Well, to me, it seems that the real objective, though, is to destroy Western culture. I don't think
First.
they really give. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like here's why I think that. I agree, and here's why I think that. You got the migrant crisis in Europe now, and these left-wing authorities who are supposed to be feminists, who are supposed to be sympathetic to feminism, and they are. I mean, they're whenever if any white man is looks at a woman wrong, they come down on him like a ton of bricks, and treat him like a reprobate. But when these migrants are coming in and they're from these cultures that are anything but feminist.
Yes.
Then the authorities say, well, you know what? If you're in an area where these people are, be mindful of what you're wearing. Don't wear anything that will provoke them, because they're a conservative culture and we need to respect them, and blah blah blah. And you've got things like the Swedish delegation visiting, I think, Iran, and it's a bunch of feminist women, but they went to Iran and they all dutifully covered their heads in the Muslim, in accordance to the rules of the Muslim world, and they were all very deferential to the Ayatollahs and stuff. And whereas somebody like gosh, who's the Le Pen,
cultural, Andy. It's cultural. I thought
I know. Whereas Marine Le Pen,
now, like 2 weeks.
Well, do you want to know, Andy? I can tell you a little bit of what I learned about that, being a Muslim in Indonesia. The concept of covering the head of the woman, it doesn't exist in the Quran. There is no compulsory dictate for women to cover their heads in Quran. So
it's just a sort of cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing. It originates in sort of archaic Arabian culture, and that's been adopted into the religion. And it's funny because when you hear Muslim women that wear it willingly go, it's a part of my expression of my religion. Nah, man, nah, bitch, you're being forced to wear it. You're being forced to wear the damn thing.
Catholicism, up until recently, mostly older women and some young women would also cover their
the veil.
head. Yes.
Yeah, in church. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But see, the thing is, so there's no effort being made to protect white women in the West from Muslim or Middle Eastern women, or Muslim or Middle Eastern men, or men of other races who are brought here, or who come here because they're migrants or because they're illegal immigrants or whatever. Then feminism goes out the door. Then it's like, oh well, let's hush this up. Let's not talk about these sexual assaults that have happened here, there, like with the rape gangs in the Pakistani rape gangs in England, different towns in England.
Yeah, horrible.
Those weren't talked about, and that's rape. I mean, I thought that feminists were supposed to be, this was the big issue. They only care about rape if it's like a white frat boy accused of rape at some boozy frat party.
Yeah.
And the girl was drunk and he took advantage of her or something like that. That's the only time they care about rape.
Yeah, when a woman gets drunk and regrets it. Well, I don't really find that man attractive.
Where her victim is, where the accused rapist is a white guy. Mm-hmm. That's when they care about rape. But when it's a non-white
Muslim,
you don't even hear about it.
No, you don't hear about it. And so that's what makes me think that the goal, is to use feminism as a weapon against the white man, against the Western man, to get him subdued, and then the idea is that these other men who come in and they take over, and that somehow, because that somehow suits the agenda, what they're pushing for. They want this kind of eventuality. That's what I'm led to think now. Whereas in the past, I thought, no, they want to go into the Middle East and go into Africa and go into all these places that are more conservative and make them Americanize them and make them just as crappy as we are. But it seems like the plan is a little different from what I had.
Especially that's definitely the case with Europe. That is 100%.
Well, here, guys, in the chats, Cabin Boy dropped some wisdom. He says it's not rape if they hump back. So that's great. I didn't know that.
I don't even know what that means. It's like dry hump, or is that what that means?
I guess if you're fucking them, and they're like being
if she's
humping you back, if she's humping back, it's not rape, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. That's common sense, I think.
Yes, common sense. Thanks, Cabin Boy. Thanks for that.
Mr. Nowicki, do you believe that the reason why this is being amplified so much as of late? I'm dropping some E. Michael Jones right now. He believes that the oligarchs, the ruling class, are pretty much they're very old. They're close to meeting the Grim Reaper. So they want to see their plan, their long-term goal come to fruition. And they
So So he says they're accelerating things because they're more aware of their mortality, and more of them are getting old.
Yes,
that's interesting.
Because if you look at the communism, it lasted from 1919 to 1989, 1992. I mean, that's that's the lifespan of a man. So he's suggesting that globalism has a lifespan of a man, and that these people, the ones that are forcing this upon the masses, they're about to die also. I mean, you had for what's that guy, Brzezinski, Jimmy Carter. I mean, he just passed away last year. George Soros is. I mean, he's in his 90s.
He's 173
in his 90s. Reptilian years. He's like
he drunk a bunch of children's blood.
Right. So the ones that we know of and the ones that we probably don't know about are all at least in their 80s to 90s, and that's why
David Rockefeller died recently.
Right. So exactly. So you see, with Trump getting in, I mean, that hit the panic button big time. So now they're really trying to ratchet it up.
Trump and Brexit both tripped that wire for them, and they've just been hysterical, and it's just been crazy. It's you just can't. It's like you don't get any peace from it unless you just detach from. I mean, I used to like to get in my car and listen to talk radio or whatever, and hear what they're talking about on the news. It was not a big deal. Yeah.
Well, if in Canada here, holy shit, man! Like I can't say anything that's even neutral about Trump. I can't, like, to anybody. Like you
right?
It's like any of the mainstream media, it all leans fucking way left, right?
Right.
I mean, you can't. There's no such thing as like a non-biased media anymore, especially in Canada. So. You can't. Every single human being that I speak to on the street, they're in the back of their mind. There's this mantra: Trump is evil. Trump is bad. Trump should die. Like, it's just this ongoing mantra in the back of their head. It's incredible, man. It's fucking incredible. I don't make many friends here, if I'm honest about my political.
Well, how do Canadians feel about their current leader?
Well, most of them think he's a clown.
Right. Okay.
And that's on the street level, though. They most think he's a clown. I mean, there's only so far you can push kind of a national identity and pride to the point of ridiculous, and then eventually people are just like, you know what, get the fuck out. So.
Well, they play on the fact that at least in the United States, they play on the fact that Americans have a short-term memory. So you're saying you want to let Syrian migrants in, but not even 20 years ago, we had the World Trade Center where apparently Arab Muslims hijacked planes and killed, 4,000 or 5,000 people. So now you want to undo that with less than 2 decades. It doesn't add up, and it doesn't sit well with the American people, where you kind of.
Yeah. I mean, mass immigration is very unpopular with most Americans. I think it's very unpopular even with most Europeans, and even in places that are much more liberal than America. If you left it up to the common man, that's not what he would choose. But it's something that the leaders are forcing. It's again just like these other things we've talked about. It's coming down from on high. It's obviously a. What did you said it was? Weaponized
anthropology.
This wouldn't be weaponized anthropology, but just weaponized policy, I guess.
Sure.
Well, people are much easier to. Let's say you do some type of mass immigration from Arab lands and move them into, let's say, Minnesota. I mean, you have a Somali immigrants living in Minnesota. Like, it doesn't.
How the fuck is that going to work, man?
Right? How's that really gonna? How's that gonna work?
It doesn't fucking work.
The local population.
Yeah.
No, that shit doesn't work. And also, both Nick and I can speak from experience of expatriatism. I mean, I've been the immigrant, in another country, and you're not fucking welcome over there. I mean,
They tolerate you.
they tolerate you, and that's about it. And then you have to you got to walk in a certain way. You got to talk in a certain way. You got to play
Can't go to
game.
certain places.
Yep, you got to play game. You got to play by their rules. You can't just fucking come over and be an asshole. I mean,
Right.
example. Nick, remember the guy I told you about when I was in Bali, the French MMA fighter who started spouting off in the neighborhood, and the cops just rolled up and shot him. It's like, fuck you, French guy. Bang,
What,
bang, bang, dead.
what did he do? What was he doing?
He was just being belligerent. He was like
Washed up MMA fighter, just you know,
Uh-huh.
being a
all
loudmouth.
roided out, being a loudmouth. He was just out in his house. I don't know what led up to this thing. A lot of people said
Uh-huh.
like the local people were
He
like,
wouldn't
"What?
pay at restaurants. That was kind of the big thing.
Oh, really? Yeah."
Uh-huh.
He was just he was just an asshole. You know, in a country
And
that's
they
not his
shot
own.
him.
They just fucking shot him.
shot him dead.
Yes, dead, killed him. So
Wow.
Well, I hope you don't mind, but I work with immigrants in New York City, and they all try their best to speak English. When I try using like Google Translator or something like that, they say, "Please don't. I can do this. I can do this in English." And they all seem to honestly they all actually assimilate, and they're all fairly kind people. I don't know what their political leanings are or whatever, but I don't correlate what's happening in Europe with the same situation in the United States. Me being at ground zero with immigrants, they all work. They're not on
Right.
welfare. They also don't believe in taking loans out. Whatever money they have, they use it. So they don't have materialistic goods. They don't buy a Michael Kors, pocketbook. They don't drive BMWs. They kind of live modestly and work and save and take care of their family.
These are the immigrants who have come legally, right?
Yes.
Am I
Correct.
right?
yes,
Okay.
Yes.
that's a
So,
difference.
yeah.
Well, everyone
Yeah.
everyone gets a passport now, though.
Mm.
You know.
Hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. I should say I'm not against immigration per se. I do think that mass immigration from the third world, particularly, is not. I mean, it's an incredibly bad idea, and it must have been. I mean, it must have been conceived with the notion in mind that this was going to create chaos. That's the only. I mean, and that they wanted to create chaos.
Absolutely, man.
Because-
I guarantee you. Hey, Andy, I guarantee you that in an office, in a desk drawer, there is a Jew rubbing his hands together, and there's a document on there that says mass
What do you
immigration.
mean, AM?
Yeah.
I'm just keeping the peace here.
I'm telling you, that document's there. It's in that Jew's drawer for sure.
I mean, there's no way that they could that Angela Merkel and her gang could conceive of, we'll just take in a few million people from Africa into Germany and other European countries, and that's I mean, that it must have been conceived with the idea of creating havoc. That must
They
have
don't
been.
have children. A lot of these prime ministers and these heads of the EU, they all don't have families of their own. And,
Yeah, that's right.
That's something that no one really likes to discuss, or no one brings to.
That's because they lay
forefront.
eggs.
That's because they're reptiles. This was something that something that I wrote, a book that I wrote called Conspiracy, Compliance, Control, and Defiance, which I've excerpted a little at Alternative Right. I talk about the ruling class. I don't know what to call them, the powers that shouldn't be, like James Corbett calls them. That's a good title, but there's others that I could think of. But let's just say the people in charge. The ones really pulling the strings, and I referred to them as reptilians, but I didn't mean that in the David Icke kind of way, where I really thought that they were reptilians. I meant it like there's something in their nature that is just predatory and cold-blooded and inhuman in the way that we think of, a human being. So a human being. So so that was something that I discussed there, but it got I think misunderstood just because the whole notion of reptilians, for some reason, even if you mention the name reptilian, if the word reptilian,
Yeah.
people think that if you use it metaphorically, you can't. It's just going to be people are going to think that you're saying it literally. So,
Yeah.
and we've got like the show from the '80s called, I don't know how old you guys are.
V.
Yes, but yeah, the show V, which I loved back in the '80s.
That was a fucking great show.
Where there were these reptilians attacking from outer space, who were made up to look human, but underneath their human skin they were reptilians. So anyway,
yeah, the V was
it's
a fantastic
unfortunate
show.
for David Icke really hits the target so many times, but it's sad that because of his whole stance on reptilians and
yeah,
the queen being has the eyes of a snake or whatever
Right.
he goes on about,
yeah,
that derails him so much from what he has to say, because he that's just a small segment of what he talks about, and that's how he gained prominence. But more lately he veers more into the stuff that we discuss, but again he kind of gets written off for his stance on lizard.
See, what got me in that direction personally with my own research was, and I say research, but it's not like I haven't broken any new ground or anything. It's just looking at what's out there and thinking about what it all means. But what brought me into a really dark place was when I found out that child abuse in the highest echelons of power was real. I mean, that it absolutely could not be denied in my mind that this was actually going on. That was really that was just a very an eye opener to say the least. I mean, it knocked me for a loop for weeks. I mean, it was, I don't know if you guys have read about the Franklin scandal, the Franklin cover-up.
No, I've never heard of it.
What is it?
It's a reference to what was in Nebraska. There were a bunch of kids who were mostly foster kids who were taken away, or some of them were taken from Boys Town, which was
I heard of Boys Town.
Orphanage.
Yes, I heard of Boys Town.
And they were shipped. It was seen to it by a man named Larry King, who's not the same Larry King that was on CNN, but
right.
He was this up-and-coming man in the Republican Party, a black guy, but an aspiring figure in the Republican Party, who it turned out took these kids, basically took these kids to parties where famous people were, politicians were in D.C. and out west to Hollywood and other places, and pimped them out, and so there was just evidence of widespread
pedophilia,
child
molestation.
Yeah, pedophilia. Yeah.
I saw a documentary on that before, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, that might have been this very subject. So I mean, when I read about the Franklin scandal, the Franklin cover-up, it was called the Franklin. This man Larry King was he ran a savings and loan out of Omaha called the Franklin Savings and Loan, and when he got arrested, it was for money laundering. It was for offenses related to misuse of funds.
Right.
Not money laundering, but embezzlement.
Embezzlement. Yeah. Right.
Along those lines. He never got prosecuted for what he did with these kids, and there were a bunch of other local characters who were prominent who were accused, who these foster kids were saying had stories about what they had done to them and where they'd been taken places and things that they'd seen, and it all got swept under the rug, and they just put out these fires in a hurry. You could see, the powers that be, the authorities, the groups like the FBI and others, the very people who are supposed to be enforcing justice, protecting the innocent, they were the ones who they were covering it up on behalf of the powerful and further victimizing the innocent. And this was just visceral. When I read this was just viscerally impactful on me. It was like it felt personal in some way. And
well, you covered Pizzagate better than anybody else. I mean, you did a lot of work on Pizzagate.
Yeah, well, reading about the Franklin cover-up more or less prepared me for Pizzagate, because it was like, so I read about Franklin, and this was all stuff that happened back in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s, and so I didn't really know about it until I read about it. And when I read about it, it was like, man, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to know about this. I want this all to go away. I don't want to think about it. It was that. It was that much.
It left an impression on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But somehow I knew I was gonna have to get back to it eventually. And then when Pizzagate broke, and Spirit Cooking and all of these things, and the Podesta emails, and it was just the same stuff over. This time
it got disinfoed. It got disinfoed very hard, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
And it was completely, and it's already lost in the sands of time, unfortunately, with Pizzagate.
And I wrote a short book about Pizzagate called Meta Pizzagate, where I tried to, again, I'm not a researcher. I'm not somebody who, it's not really my task. I don't see it as my task to uncover to break new ground as far as what's known, but I like to take what is known and try to look it over and ask what's really going on, and why if it's true that these things are happening, why are they happening? Why are they doing these things? And so in Meta Pizzagate, a lot of it is speculation, but it's sort of the whole notion of the exoteric versus the esoteric. That there's a way that our leaders, our rulers, as I call them, because I don't feel led by them. Yeah. And I don't prefer to think of them as ruling me either, but they do, because they're just because of sheer power. They have power and I don't, so therefore they rule me. But anyway, like they want us to feel a certain way about them. They promote a certain they promote certain things, and that's the exoteric, like what's plain to the public. But then they have an esoteric way of thinking of things, whereby these traditional values are inverted, and what's most perverse is most desirable. Just this, that at heart, and this is a lot of this. Again, is not anything I can prove.
Right,
but
it's just speculation.
It's speculation, but it's a definite suspicion that there is a widespread, Luciferian, satanic kind of perspective, kind of orientation that just a lot of these people have. It's hard to escape that's ultimately what they are.
There's no doubt that these people have antisocial personality disorder. Again, the worst, the scum rises to the top, and no doubt that whether it be in a government or a corporation or a small town business, or the religion, in church, that someone that has is a sociopath or a psychopath, they tend to go to the top. And usually people with those type of personality disorders tend to be pedophiles.
Well, there's a question here from Prune Juice Power, which I think is relevant to what we're discussing at the moment, and about speculation, and maybe your book as well. He goes, what I want to know is who did they piss off to get their Pizzagate operation thrown under the bus? Because they love their deviant, sick lifestyles and usually protect one another. But that's a good question. Because, like, think about it. How does this shit get leaked? Is it just a mistake? You know,
that's the question. I mean, that's, I guess, that when you think about that, you have to think about, is Julian Assange what he appears to be?
I don't think so. I think
he's a false prophet.
He's a character. He's a character in the play.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So then, if he's the one who leaked this stuff through
emails,
whomever, through whomever gave him this information. So I guess that's a relevant question to consider when.
Well, that's interesting if it was Assange, because me and Ayam have discussed Assange before, that we don't find him to be. He's a false prophet, a false icon.
I think he's totally controlled opposition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, at the same time, what benefit does it do to them if they leak it themselves? You know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah.
Well, Harvey Weinstein would be a good example of that also.
Yes, Harvey Weinstein. Yeah, exactly, Harvey Weinstein. So how did that all shit get out? Was it just some angry feminist from Hollywood? Like,
was the Weinstein stuff released so that Hollywood wouldn't have to deal with the really, really sleazy,
the pedo stuff? Yeah,
the pedo stuff.
Yeah, that's what people are saying in the comments too. Is like the whole Me Too movement out of Hollywood is just a distraction. Mm-hmm. So maybe.
Okay, so what's really going on behind Hollywood? I mean, Harvey Weinstein was the sacrificial lamb to the Hollywood elite.
But even so, it was a blow to them, because Harvey Weinstein was this big, high-profile Democrat contributor to the Democrat Party and friends with the Obamas and everything. So, I mean, Michelle Obama was called him a wonderful human being in some speech that she gave in 2013. That got played by certain outlets, after all this broke, and I don't think there's any way the Obamas didn't know what Weinstein really was.
Of course they knew what he was doing.
What he was really up to.
Yeah.
And they sent their own daughter to intern for him. That's something
God.
That's something that I talked about.
If that is their daughter.
Yeah, if it is their daughter.
Yeah, right, yeah. Sure. I mean, there's that question too. But, like, is there any, if they know who he was, then if they know the kind of stuff that he was capable, the kind of behavior that he exhibited, you're going to send your 18, or however old she was, 18, 19, 20-year-old daughter to work for him? That's just, I mean, I was wondering if, they were pimping their daughter out to him. I mean, that was the question I asked. If it is their daughter. Yeah, if everything is what they say it is with the Obama family.
Yeah. Sit next to Uncle Harvey.
Well, there is that picture. Go ahead. Hello.
That makes me think. Which made me think of. There's a picture of a young actress sitting with Oprah, and Harvey Weinstein's leaning her arm, and it's like she looks kind of apprehensive, and Oprah's kind of saying, "It's okay, go with the nice man."
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
It's really disturbing.
Disturbing, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and then with the whole Pizzagate scandal, yeah, that's right. The leaks came through WikiLeaks, correct? And then
yes.
That was all the emails. So the question is okay, there's only two possibilities. Either keeping their information secret isn't as tight as they think it is, right? Or it was leaked intentionally.
I don't believe that it was. I don't think that it could have been. No, okay, well, that it was leaked intentionally. I could see a scenario of that happening if, let's say that, Trump always got promoted as the outsider, the one that none of the establishment liked, and the renegade anti-establishment candidate.
Yeah.
Actually favored by some segment. Then I could see that segment of the establishment leaking the stuff, on behalf of this faction of the establishment, in order to embarrass this other faction of the establishment.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, there's different
but other
factions within the
than
establishment, and they're
that,
fighting amongst the in that hierarchy.
yeah.
The slinging mud at each other.
Other
You
than
think?
that, I don't see how, like, I don't believe that the Clintons and the Obamas and the all of the Democrats and the Podestas and everybody, I don't think they wanted that stuff to get out. I think it was really humiliating
Mm-hmm.
and embarrassing. And I'm glad that they were humiliated and embarrassed. But don't get me wrong.
But do you think
I think it's good.
But do you think it had much of an effect? I mean, I honestly don't think those people really feel shame at all. I
No,
mean,
Right.
that's the kind of people we're dealing with here. I mean, we're dealing with really vile people.
I agree.
They might feel embarrassed, kind of like you might feel embarrassed if your fly's undone. You know?
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. They don't feel so. I'm sure they don't feel sorry for anything, but they're sorry that they're embarrassed that they got caught, or that they're embarrassed that this is getting out there, that their dirty laundry is out there.
Yeah.
Um,
But they're so brazen, like we were talking before. I mean, they got balls.
yeah.
Huge. They got such huge balls that it almost seems to me like they really feel like they can't fail anymore. Like,
And they know they're not going to get in trouble for anything. I mean, that's
Right.
that's
That's the crux of it.
they run the system. So
Yeah.
so what do they have to be afraid of? But I think they were incensed that they didn't, that they had such a feeling of entitlement, and they were incensed that they didn't win. I mean, I think that is definitely, I believe that definitely happened. So again, whether Assange is who people say that he is, and whether Trump is who people say that he really is, which I have a really hard time believing, because he's been rich and famous and in the public eye since the 80s, and so he's been.
How many celebrities can be president in the United States? I mean, look how many there have been already. Like it's almost like not even just president.
Well, he's the first non-politician to become president.
Well, no, what about Ronald Reagan?
Right?
Ronald Reagan. He was a fucking actor.
Well, Reagan was
into politics.
Oh, okay.
Reagan was like a governor and stuff before he became president.
What about
But
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
He's a governor.
That's true.
I know he was a governor though, but what about Jesse the Body Ventura? Who the fuck's voting for?
If they became president, then yeah, that'd be a big story.
Trump is still a wild card, but it seems that he's caving to pressure, and he's realizing he can't do what it is he thought he wanted to do. And
If
maybe
he ever
they
intended
have
to
some
do
type
it.
of dirt on him. I really, I couldn't really tell you, but it's not looking good. It's not going in the direction that I wanted it to.
Yeah, see, I was never, like, I guess I never expected that much, but I really didn't want Hillary Clinton to win. I'm really glad that she didn't. So I'm not so disappointed in Trump, because I never really had high hopes for him, I guess, in the first place. So
Now why didn't you?
well, I don't know. Like I was saying a few minutes ago, I guess I thought that, I mean, I didn't buy really the anti-establishment angle on him, because he was he was a really powerful man in the he was a real estate mogul in Manhattan, and a billionaire, and he knew all kinds of powerful people, and there's pictures of him being buddy with the Clintons and plenty of other people, and so I really kind of was skeptical of him, but and like he suddenly is he's suddenly pro-life, although he's always been. He's
actually always been somewhat of a Democrat, and that's one reason why a lot of Tea Party John Birchers were kind of like sending up signal flares when he was running. That don't listen to this guy. He's actually a Democrat. He's not a Republican, and that's why you got so many people jumping towards Cruz. And I don't even remember the other people's names, to be honest with you, but I know a lot of people that supported Ted Cruz pointed that out. But then I would rebuttal and say, well, Ted Cruz's wife is a managing director to Goldman Sachs.
Right. There's that.
This guy's got a Norman Rockwell painting, his dreams of 1952 all over again. No one's gonna buy that image. And here comes Trump with a gold toilet, wheeling and dealing, real estate, talking like a construction worker, from
grab him by the pussy.
Yeah,
right.
So that definitely resonated with a lot of people, especially for his not being politically correct.
Yes, all of that was good, and I appreciate all of that about him. But I was with the bigger picture stuff. I was maybe a little skeptical, but yeah. But anyway,
well,
go ahead.
Well, just to kind of add a little bit onto what you guys were talking about, Trump. How did you? I mean, the day before you knew the election results. I mean, was there any part of you that kind of was thinking, "What if Hillary wins?"
Well, I mean, it was pretty. Didn't everybody think that she was going to win?
Well, it was sold. It was sold that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was more like, what if the impossible happens and Trump wins, and then he actually did win.
Yeah,
that was the.
He did not expect to win. I don't believe the notion that he was handpicked prior. I don't believe any of that, because you saw him as soon as he won, he panicked picking a cabinet, and he's still panicking picking people. Yeah,
still
I don't
surprised to
that
be where he is.
Right, he's very surprised to be where he's at, and if you listen to his very few last interviews prior to the election, he was not expecting to win, judging by his attitude. He sounded somewhat defeated and tired, and almost like he's glad it's over. Then when he won, he was like, "Oh shit, I'm the president." this is, it's kind of like the producers where he making a joke of himself and being an idiot. Yeah, I'll tell him I'm going to build a wall, and it actually comes to fruition, But it's true when it comes to Trump. I know Trump really well. I dealt with him since I was a little kid. The whole thing with being tied to Russia. If you really start thinking about New York, the Russian mafia, hey, you never know. Then he had casinos in New Jersey. You don't build casinos in New Jersey unless you're dealing with the mob, right? You don't deal with real estate in downtown Manhattan unless you're dealing with Jews. So I mean, he's definitely had some push and pull within the elites prior to becoming president.
Yeah, and I mean, he was friends with purportedly was friends with who's that sleazeball Epstein.
Oh, wonderful, was he?
The one who had the
island of children,
sex slave island. Yeah, he there's some quote from the early 2000s where he said Jeffrey Epstein, he's a great guy and he likes his women young, but there's nothing wrong with that. He actually says that.
Wow. But I mean, a guy in his position has to know those people, man.
Yeah,
he has to.
And I hear defenders say, "Oh well, he said that at the time, but since then he came to see who Epstein really was, and now doesn't want to have anything to do with him." I don't know.
Wow.
So.
Well, they don't seem to have a lot of dirt on him, which seems to agitate the elites. I mean, he's a self-made man. He does answer to Goldman Sachs. He does answer to Wall Street. And I do think they've kind of cuckolded him with the economy, especially with the stock market, because the stock market is it's unimaginable what it is right now. So I think if he doesn't toe the line, the people on Wall Street are like, listen, we'll tank this whole thing on you.
Bottom falls out.
Right, we'll buy. Yeah.
Well, you know what I would like to kind of drift back to, because it caught my attention, Andy, was you were talking about the book about Pizzagate.
Yes.
The one that you said there was a lot of speculation. I want to know some of these theories you had. Like I want to hear some of them. They sound like they would be interesting.
Well, you can read the book.
Okay. Well, you don't want to give away too much of the book.
No. Sorry. No. I'd like to talk about it, but I mean, I'm just trying to, in a general, that's just a very general question, like with respect to, what I actually think happened, what I actually think is going on, or
okay, let me put it this way. Let me first start off by saying I'll explain what I have heard, and what I've heard is very little, because
okay,
I didn't dig too deep into it. I found it absolutely fascinating, and I
yeah,
went through a phase of where I did listen to a lot of different videos about it, and the whole time just kind of feeling sick to my stomach, obviously.
yeah, sure,
But what I found out was there was these emails leaked, and it was Podesta's emails,
correct,
and
Wait,
those.
wait. It was leaked through Anthony Weiner. Don't forget that, through his wife.
Oh, right,
So when they were investigating Anthony Weiner, that's how
right,
this really all came down. And how Anthony Weiner, again, a darling of the left.
yeah,
I think it was HBO, saying he's running for mayor again. Like, wait a second, this guy, sorry, not kid, this guy is texting little girls, and
yeah,
you're making an HBO movie about him. Like, what's up with that?
So
15-year-olds, yeah,
yeah, so okay, so through Wiener, and then it went
Wienergate.
Wienergate. Then it went into Podesta's emails, and then there was all these coded words about a
yes,
place in D.C. that was a pizza place, and they were,
yeah,
and I heard a lot. I read some of the emails because that stuff was available and it was on a lot of videos and stuff. And I read
yeah,
how they were using these code words like, what is it? What was it? Cheese,
Pepperoni.
pizza, yeah,
cheese and pizza, and,
yeah, and if you objectively read those
pasta.
emails, right? Yeah, pasta. If you objectively read them, okay, it's bizarre. It's not.
They make no sense.
Yeah.
They're obviously code.
Yes, it's very obviously code. And then I saw screenshots of the FBI website showing code words for known pedophilia.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was the same fucking words.
Yep.
So it's pretty
And
damning, right?
yeah, and these like you said, the places in DC, Comet Pizza, Ping Pong, and Besta Pizza, which has a logo which corresponds to the Boy Love logo, which the triangle inside the triangle figure.
Well, the photos, Andy. I think the photos were horrifying.
Yeah, the James Alefantis
little
photos.
girl, or was that a little boy that was taped down with duct tape? And then the whole
Right.
concept of ping pong and pizza. That a person who had pizza for dinner tonight. I don't
Right.
see ping pong and pizza going hand in hand.
No. No. So and there it gets even weirder. Like I don't know if you guys know about the Madeleine McCann case in England with
Yes.
this little girl that went missing, and then there were these drawings, these e-fits that were made of it was supposed to be of one perpetrator, but they looked like two different men, and they look exactly like John and Tony Podesta. These like these sketches that were made of somebody who claimed to have witnessed people around the scene when Madeleine McCann disappeared, which was bizarre because was suspicious because there were others who claimed that the Podesta brothers were in Portugal.
Yes, I remember
Around that
too,
same
yes.
time.
Yes, and
And then there's
the
all the
witness
stuff with
drawings.
Haiti too. I mean, yes, exactly, the witness drawings. And so then there's all this. There are all these different. It's like this gestalt. There's many different points, and they all form this. Something taken together, and they all point to bad stuff, being done. And then there's also, lest we forget, a lot of things happening in Haiti where
Yes.
children are disappearing. Somebody who is affiliated with the Clintons claimed to be a missionary. A woman claimed to be a missionary and tried to get a bunch of kids who claiming they were orphans after the earthquake in Haiti, trying to get them to come out to be in this or to be a part of this orphanage. But the orphanage wasn't really built, and so the authorities stopped her and put her and her cohorts in jail, and then they were sprung out of jail by the Clintons. And it turned out that in these emails, Hillary Clinton was keeping track of her and
Wow.
what she was doing. Yeah, there's so many different.
That happened with Oprah also when she built the school in Africa. The same type of situation transpired.
Really?
Yep, same thing happened.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you kind of wonder if like all of these high up mucky mucks, whether they're in the media, whether they're in politics on the highest levels, it's just like it almost seems like they are just all part of. They're just this. They together form this power clack that is just doing all kinds of nefarious things for who knows what kind of reasons. And you asked a moment ago, one of you asked a moment ago, what some of my theories were.
Yes.
And it seemed to me that they are doing these kinds of things, these kinds of unimaginable things that we would never dream of, like normal people would, and I'm not anything like a saint. It's not like I haven't done bad things or haven't thought about doing bad things, but it would never occur to me to want to ritualistically
abuse children,
abuse and sacrifice children.
Yeah.
That just wouldn't.
Most people.
It doesn't do anything.
Most people.
Well, you have to understand, Andy, and from where me and Ayam come from, again living in Asia, that these things are actually quite common in a lot of the nations. And the whole idea that we're a Christian nation and stuff, that we would never do such a thing, I understand that. And we at one time we wouldn't, but if we move down this sort of narcissistic, antisocial path, children be the most vulnerable to these type of things.
Yeah, there's a lot less protection for children in those places, which obviously goes right about the Haiti thing, and I think I would be unsurprised. I would not be shocked if that kind of practice was happening in a lot of these other developing nations.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure. Unfortunately, it's.
But if you break the family, again, if there's no family unit, there's no sense of community anymore. You've uprooted immigrants from Somalia and put them in Minnesota. It's much easier for these things to manifest themselves and become malignant.
Yeah, I think so.
But anyway, keep going with kind of your you've thought.
Well, I mean. What I came up with is just that, like I was saying a few minutes ago, there's the exoteric way that they present themselves, which is I can't remember exactly how I'm trying to think of a precise metaphor that I used in the book. Well, like with pedophilia, with wanting to like the movements in some places to lower the age of consent.
Right.
They exoterically will make arguments for we'll try to make arguments for or will promote arguments being made in favor of these kinds of things,
right.
Just
making it okay.
Yeah, like saying that it's not satanic, saying that it's a good thing, but
right.
that esoterically, they know that it's satanic, they know that it's bad, they know that it's evil, and they like that. That's what they get a power from, or they get a feeling of power. They get, I mean, this is where I think some of what David Icke says can also be valuable as well, because he theorizes that that in abusing children in this way, they absorb some kind of dark energy from taking part in these kinds of rituals. And it does seem to me that that kind of answers the question of why do they do it? Because why would they? It's not like if I ever got into politics, I wouldn't be tempted by children. If somebody wanted to tempt me into something scandalous, women, bring women, sure. Maybe
dangle an 8-year-old boy in front of you. You're like, what?
no, that's not going to work. It's not going to work that way.
Pizza and ping pong.
But so I guess my theory again is, or such as it is, and I'm not saying that it's anything original, but I just tried to put it in the context of what is being talked about in this particular case, and I think that it's like there's something about the transgression that when you have a Luciferian or satanic mindset, it's an inverted mindset. It's like, I don't know if you've read much Aleister Crowley or anything like that.
I know about him.
Aware of him.
Yeah.
It seems like that his mentality, his mindset, his satanic philosophy comes into play a lot, and there's even been reference to like Crowley type stuff in some of the letters, some of the Podesta emails that were
spirit
really
cooking.
Yes, exactly.
And who was that woman? I can't remember her name.
The Marina Abramovich.
Yes,
her name. Yeah,
spirit cooking. So I mean, obviously, and that's another thing that I understand about this whole story that unfolded, and I saw it, and it was pretty amazing. I couldn't believe it. But
yeah,
here you've got a connection to ritual sacrifice.
Yeah.
And Luciferian rituals.
Yeah.
It's insane, man.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I guess that, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago when I was first encountering this kind of stuff, it was just really hard to take. But it's kind of, I guess I've habituated myself to it. And in a way, you always kind of feel double-minded, because it's like the world that you thought you know,
yes,
that you thought you knew, comes into conflict with what you're now learning. And I never thought I was. I don't think I was ever naive. I don't think I ever had any kind of conception of the authorities being just completely free from corruption and
benevolent.
Yeah, and benevolent or anything. But I guess I kind of just thought, well, when they aren't serving the common good, it's because of really venal kinds of things. It's not it's because
like
they're paid off. It's because they're this,
like,
that, and the other thing. It's not because they just they want to protect they want to victimize the innocent.
Yeah, so you're kind of making what you're doing is you're kind of, what do you call it, projecting yourself onto them and saying, well, if it was me, I'm having a bad day.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Meanwhile, these people are fucking little boys, and that's when your mind kind of goes, what the
right
fuck?
That's something you can't relate to. I mean, I can't. That it's hard to.
Yeah.
You want to think of your enemy in a way that you can understand. The way to make peace, I guess, with somebody who you're feuding with is to think, oh well, he's just like me in some ways.
Yes.
Right.
Even though we're having this dispute, even though we don't agree on everything,
Yes.
we can get together and see things the same way. We all both struggle with the same things, but
Meanwhile, your enemy's buggering little boys.
yeah, ritualistically killing and maybe eating
Yes.
children.
And then you're like, wait a second. No, I can't. I'm sorry.
No, yes, no. I mean, when you're up against people like that, people doing things like that, then there can be no peace. I don't think.
You're absolutely right. There can be no peace. Understanding the enemy in that sense, as you've put it, is, again, that's something I've thought about a lot too. I haven't written about it, but I've thought about it. I've talked about it, but I could go hours with you discussing that concept in depths in regards to religion and historicity of religion, but we'll save that for another time. we'll save that for
Yeah.
another time.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of different places we could go with this whole subject, but I think for me, just to summarize it, because I do need to go pretty soon here.
Yeah,
but
that's right. We're it's got to be midnight now where you are. So
yeah, it's midnight where I am. But to summarize, I think it's basically evil. It's like,
yes,
I think that was what was keeping me up at night and making me, I'll be honest, there were times I just broke down. And I'm not, I don't want to be grandiose about any of this, because this was just stuff I was reading about. I didn't know anybody. I wasn't close to anybody who was victimized, but it got me on such a gut level that there were times I actually just broke down sobbing, reading about it. I just couldn't handle it. So it's just that this is evil. I mean, the evil is real. It's palpable, and
it's here now. It's here on Easter Sunday.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing, man.
Exactly.
I mean, look at the Pope. I mean, the Pope is a prime example. I mean, this guy, Jesuit bouncer in Argentina, to become the pontiff. God only knows what he's going to be saying tomorrow. You should embrace the homosexual, a beeper. You let them touch your baby. It's a good thing. Jesus Christ will love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a bad scene.
My family in LA on my dad's side are all very strong. They're Nicaraguans, so they're very strong Catholics. Very strong. I love my aunt so much. Like, she's such a strong Catholic woman, and I'm a Muslim. It's incredible. We have incredible conversations.
I'm a 4th degree knight at Knights of Columbus. Okay, I don't play around.
Hey, there we go.
But she is now questioning the Pope, and that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that just sort of like, wow.
Well, the thing is, you can question the Pope. You can still be a good Catholic and acknowledge that he's a bad Pope. That's something.
It's not like there hasn't been bad popes before.
There have been a ton of bad popes throughout history.
True, yeah. Well, Andy, if you need to take off, we can put it to a rest there. And I'll tell you, man, this was great having you on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'd love to be on your show again sometime.
We will do it, definitely. We're going to keep that in mind later on in the not too distant future for sure. We'll have you on again because I know we've got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Well, happy Easter. Thank you so much.
Happy Easter to you all.
Yes.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take care, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, brother. See you later.
All right. Bye.
That was cool.
That was fantastic.
Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still live.
All right.
Okay, everybody, that was Andy Nowicki. Please go to his website. He said that he wanted to be off by midnight, and he mentioned it. So I didn't want to try and drag him any longer.
We'll save it. Obviously, we got a lot more to cover, and that went really well. So we'll definitely have him on again.
And we might have to start earlier if we have him on again to get some more length.
Whatever works.
Okay. So before we continue, I think Nick and I will hash a few things out for you guys for a few more minutes here. We don't need to drop off. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to play a message from our sponsors. So we'll be right back.
For thousands of years, Americans have looked for answers to life's difficult questions. Now, millions of people just like you are finding answers and taking charge of their lives through the original patented and proven program of Valhalla's finest deity, Thor.
Treasure awaits you, but beware of your womenfolk. Treachery is deep within her. By the coming of the spring, she shall be no more.
Thor changed my life.
Author of 2 best-selling self-help books translated from the original runic into 25 languages, Thor has helped millions realize their dreams.
Beware the trap set by the frost giant. Carry your magic hammer.
Available on record or cassette, the personal Norse Power Program looks to the myths of the Vikings for answers.
Can you give my husband and I some advice to help keep things hot in the bedroom?
Take a longboat and 20 of your finest men. Head to where the sun sets. There you will find a village. Pillage, plunder, and burn all that you find.
And if you order now, you'll receive Thor's Subliminal Tape Series, so you gain wisdom of the gods while sleeping.
Accept the crystal cup. At the feast, beware the dwarf.
Thor's personal Norse Power Program. Call now. 866-PILLAGE. That's 866-PILLAGE.
Hi, I'm BJ Smith, football player, businessman, and father of 18 adorable kids. Throughout my career, my coach pumped me so full of steroids and hatred, I couldn't feel pain. Shoot, I even break my own leg for fun. They made me play when I was ill or injured, and that was because I was little more than a piece of meat to them. And now, you can too. With BJ's Fit for Football, I'll take you through all the necessary steps to get fit for football and sticking it to the man. Using only a 400-pound duffel bag, luxurious gym, massive intakes of steroids, and a personal oxygen mask, you will be amazed as all those pounds fall off and flabs turn to muscles. Hell, you'll want to whip some ass because you'll be fighting fit. You'll learn how to argue with officials, beat up enormous men, break legs, and lose weight, especially in the brain. BJ's Fit for Football, out now on beta and VHS. Remember, to win the game of football or life, you have to annihilate everything in your path in a blind rage.
Ever since Linda started working, our kids are home alone.
We tried hiring a nanny, but she wanted health insurance.
Yeah, right. That's when we got Domestobot. He's great with the kids.
Mrs. Lawrence, Tommy has some skin magazines under the bed.
And he helps us, too.
Would you like your drink freshened?
He's a great conversation piece at our special parties.
Please put your car keys in the hat and the fun will begin.
It's like having a personalized alarm clock.
I brought you a drink.
Ah, it's 8 in the morning.
I made it a double.
Oh, Domestobot.
Domestobot. He's 3 foot high. He only says 10 phrases. He's the friend you've always dreamed of. Order Domestobot today.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, what the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman. I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without a symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova, who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got the medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
All right, we're back. That was a message from our sponsors. Once again, I just want to thank Andy Nowicki for coming on the show. It was a wonderful talk. I'm glad there's still 12 people watching. Thanks for being patient through the advertisements, but you know we gotta feed our families, ladies and gentlemen.
And dogs.
And dogs. We gotta feed our dogs. And so we're gonna Nick and I are gonna continue for a little bit longer. And Nick, what did you want to mention? You wanted to tell a story here?
Well, yesterday my best friend showed up after a half a year of not speaking to me because his girlfriend got a hold of his cell phone and saw all my MGTOW messages to my friend to leave his girlfriend. And naturally he sided with the pussy and deleted my number and all this other bullshit. So I haven't seen him in 6 months. Out of nowhere, he called me saying he misses me, and obviously I knew that, all right, so he's fighting with his girlfriend and he wants someone to talk to. Went out to dinner, and his girlfriend's a bit of a gold digger. They've been on and off for over a decade, and he said that his girlfriend finally got a job. Again, she has a bachelor's. She's intelligent, but she doesn't want to work. He subsidizes her, so she's refusing to work. She finally gets a job. She gets a job. Now, mind you, she has no real work experience. Her resume is minimal. She provided nothing, working as a waitress, working as a telemarketer. But her new job now is a full-time HR specialist at Target.
Nice.
And yes, and the reason why I bring this up is that we mentioned on this show before about human resources and how it's stockpile of young women. How these corporations are now subsidizing single white women to do nothing, basically, to push the feminist narrative in the workplace. So here is a woman, no real work experience, now full-time HR specialist for a very large multinational retail chain. And I found it to be quite strange and semi-nefarious that she would get this position. And she majored in sociology. How about that?
Of course she did.
Sociology. And now she is now in charge of hiring and firing people inside an establishment that has about 150 to 200 people on payroll.
Well, holy shit, really?
Oh, the Target's huge, yeah.
I guess so, yeah, it would be.
You know, part-time workers, you add it all up, it's got to be, depending on where you are, but Target's the largest store, so I would say between 100 and 150 people easily.
Well, you know, HR is predominantly a female division of any company. And it's interesting. I wonder if, I mean, who's responsible for hiring HR?
Usually the general manager of the store, and then the general manager of the store has to answer to corporate. So whatever corporate says, the general manager has to abide. And there was a time where the general manager would have much more control over his own store. Like if he didn't want to put out something for sale that he thought in his area because of demographics or whatever. Yeah, again, because of demographics, he would tell corporate, "No, I'm going to put this out just for the sake of sales." Now, with retail corporations, Walmart, Ahold, Stop and Shop, Giant, you know, I'm naming the ones that are near me, they don't have that leniency anymore to decide on what it is they're going to be putting out. It's whatever corporate says. You have to do what corporate, you know, what corporate says. You have to do what abide by their rules.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. I did a video a long time ago. Maybe I mentioned this to you before. It was about an article that I read of a study that was done by a Israeli group. And the study was done on HR. And what they did was they conducted a study throughout, I think it was Western Europe, where they would fill out a CV, a curriculum vitae, or a resume. They're all fake. They fill them out, and the part of the experiment was some of the resumes had no picture. There was no picture of the person, but the name was obviously of male or a female. Okay. And then there were some where they put pictures of males and females because they wanted to see sort of how HR reacted to people that wanted to apply for certain jobs based on nothing but a resume in front of their face, right?
Right.
And the conclusion of this study, this Israeli study, was that, number one, HR departments are dominated by women. Around Europe, this was done in Western Europe. So around Western Europe, pretty much every single HR department is dominated by women. And I can attest to that when I was in Indonesia, and I worked for many companies that were peddling education, HR, women. All women. There's no men in HR.
Right.
I believe it's the same in North America as well. But anyway, according to this Israeli study, the HR departments were predominantly run by women. So it's a woman standing there looking at your CV and deciding yay or nay, right?
Right.
What they discovered is that the people these women hired the most were attractive men. This is who they were hiring. Attractive men. If you were a woman, fuck, not a chance. If you were an attractive woman, you were not getting hired. You were not getting hired. The people that had the best chance of getting hired through the study were attractive men. So that tells you a lot about HR, especially if it's run by women. These women...
Well, it's a whole department of women not contributing to the corporation,
no, they're not.
to the market, to capitalism. they are basically subsidized by the corporation. And as we were talking to Andy about how when he went to Barnes and Nobles and there was all these books, feminist books, it's somewhat of the same thing. They're correlated. The two are correlated. That these corporations are being subsidized through their shareholders. Who are their shareholders? 9 out of 10 times, it's hedge funds.
Yes.
And it's large financial institutions.
And this is happening.
These financial institutions these financial institutions are basically the money printers, right? They're the ones that are also buying up land that you're now renting, paying exuberant rent prices. The money goes back to these hedge funds and these large financial firms, banks, again, what have you. And then the money trickles down to the HR department that's subsidizing single women to stay out of the home, to stay out of the family, to continue working, to buy materialistic goods and consumerism and big secularism and all these things that we discuss on the show.
Well, the concept of HR being sort of a bottleneck to how your company eventually is represented through staffing is mirrored exactly in post-secondary education institutions in North America as well. And that's why you have a humanities department in a lot of these schools, universities in America and Canada today that are just spewing out this bullshit of patriarchy, feminism, you can have a dick and still be a woman kind of bullshit.
Right.
I mean, it's becoming a part of the education. So,
well, they have to listen. The HR department has to abide by whatever mandate has been put in place by your state and local governments. So let's say now, and this has already happened in Australia. I think maybe it's been ongoing for the past 2 decades. Is that you have to have quotas.
Yeah.
For example, in Australia, if you have a supermarket in Australia and you have over 100 employees, by law,
yes,
you have to have X amount of Aborigines people working in that store.
Yeah.
So now that
you have to go find them.
You have to go and find them. So what has happened in Australia has now made its way to the shores of America. So now these corporations now have to have 10 retarded people or autistic, teenagers bagging groceries for you. Well, the bagger's really not contributing that much. If they want to bag for 15, 20 hours, that's fine. But don't tell the business that I have to hire this autistic fucking 18-year-old that's going to shit her pants and fucking,
and have to leave.
At my, right. Exactly. Start yelling at the customers, as they're, getting their groceries or whatever,
Well, and if we go based on what we discussed with Andy before he left, eventually they're going to have quotas to hire a certain amount of pedophiles to work in your fucking company, man.
Well, I didn't even mention the Salon article. I was going to mention it while he was on, but you can see from the homosexual agenda that the next will be pedophilia. Well, first will be polygamous marriage. Okay, and I do see polygamous
the Muslims
marriage.
got that on.
Well, it's not just the Muslims, but again, these
Mormons.
hierarchs, the elites, these CEOs. I mean, if I want to have 5 women in my house, who are you denying me to have 5 women? I have all the power. So again, it's very similar to Arab nations where these sultans will have X amount of wives because they can, again, subsidize them. Why not? So why not have that in North America now?
Yeah. It's a shit show, man.
So again, it'll start with polygamous marriage. I think that's going to soon fall in the next decade. After that will be obviously pedophilia, and there's no question in my mind in the long term, and we will be discussing this in the near future about people marrying their animals.
Yeah, well, bestiality. This is I don't even know which one would be rejected first, bestiality or pedophilia. But these guys have balls, like we were talking with Andy. They have absolute balls. They're gonna throw this shit on the table and watch you throw up and not give a shit. And
right.
The left today already is pushing pedophilia. You'll hear talking heads within the left, the extreme left, that say, pedophilia, we just need to accept them for who they are. It's just a lifestyle. It's a fucking mental illness.
It's a choice.
Yeah, it's just a lifestyle choice. But in reality, we all know it's a mental illness, exactly as what do you call it? Transgenderism and homosexuality. So, they're already pushing for that shit, man. And they have so much balls, they're going to keep pushing. And I think that's their MO. I think that's how they function.
If you put miserable single white chick as the head of your human resources department, right? She's going to be mad. She's already mad. She's hopped up on, psycho drugs.
Caffeine and fucking
right.
Antipsychotics.
Starbucks and Zoloft.
Yeah.
Right? She's hopped up on Starbucks and Zoloft, mad that she doesn't have a child. She's fuckless. And I don't know if you know about this, but women that go long periods without sex become just angry and bitter and pissed off all the time. Same goes for guys, but not nearly as strong.
Yeah.
But you put these type of people in positions of power of hiring, you're in trouble.
Well, just on a side note, you know what happens to men that go long periods of time without sex? Based on history, they become prophets.
You love that one.
I know, I love it. I love that one.
Tesla.
Holy
Ayam, Sirias.
When women go years without sex, they just degrade into shit. When men
they
do,
skip peanut butter on their vagina.
Yeah,
like they're fucking chihuahua eat it up.
But when men go years without sex, they become prophets of God.
So, Ayam, you already know this, though. A little bit of a side note. I'm digressing here for a second, but on a side note, now, I told you that I've been hanging out with an African-American chick that I haven't seen in 5 or 6 years, and we met up the other night, and I told her about our channel and everything, and she was all into it.
That's pretty brazen.
She's cool, dude.
Okay.
She's down to earth. She's a ghetto chick. Streets of Brooklyn, you know the deal, all right?
I don't mind
so
if chicks. I've loved more chicks to watch her content, but if they come up in the chats,
no,
MGTOW Warrior and fucking Rico will dump her just like that.
The MGTOW Sharia. But so I told her what I was discussing with you about. Do you think white chicks are fucking their dogs?
Oh, okay.
And she started laughing. She said it's a possibility. She says maybe not now, but maybe perhaps when they're older and still unmarried and without children. But she made a strong point about feminism, that what's happening in North America is that it's pushed the sexes further apart.
Yeah.
She's telling me that women more than ever don't want to work or do fucking anything at all. They really just want a guy to just, take care of them.
For everything, yeah.
And yeah. She says this whole thing about pushing them into work and stuff is completely backfiring because women really truly don't want to do any of the above. And I thought it was really interesting listening to her say that.
Women really truly are lazy motherfuckers. Let's just say that.
Yeah, they just want to eat, sit in the sun, drink Starbucks coffee, and selfies, and get fucked. Right.
Yeah, that's all they want to do.
And it's worse. It's worse now more than ever. Because the more the feminist narrative is, you have to go to work, you have to go get a PhD, the women are actually doing the complete opposite, saying, nah, I don't want to really do any of that. I just want a guy to take care of me. But because of the state we're in, where it requires 2 incomes, where, if you want a Michael Kors bag and a white Audi, guess what? The both of us are going to have to work. And unfortunately, women don't seem to understand. And they think for whatever reason, every female thinks they're to the exception of this.
Okay,
so,
hey, wait a second. Apology Man said, you can legalize anything, just change the wording. Example, murder to late-term abortion. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right.
What, 2 years?
Yeah, pedophilia to, like, boy caring or some bullshit, right? I mean, this is how it works, and you're absolutely right. the war on words is kind of where it starts. You know, the way
Well,
we.
talking about war on words, how did the new thing now is how BC and AD? You know BC and AD,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
AM.
Yeah.
Okay, the liberals have now rewrote it to its BCE and
Before Common
CE.
Era, after Common Era. Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And then people are defending this. I go, you do know it still means BC and AD. You are aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, now it's it's more accepted and inclusive. I go, no. CE and BCE still mean BC and AD.
Yeah, it's the
I
same
don't give
shit.
a fuck. It's the same goddamn thing. So why are you trying to rewrite this? Oh, because it's related to the Bible and the religion. That's why you want to rewrite it.
Of course it is. Of course it is. You want anything to go, anything good must go, basically. And again, as the Apology Man said, if I were to say anything good must go, well then murder must be good now, and so we'll call it late-term abortion.
Taxes are good.
Yeah. Everything bad must become good, and everything good must become bad. And Andy mentioned that when we talked to him. There's a war on words and ideas, and it's this twisted reversal of everything.
Yeah,
good.
when you got this little lesbian chick on a platform at DC telling you that you give up your arms, she's got Muslim writing on her arm and
she's got a
Cuban
flag
on the other, and a Cuban flag. Like, who the fuck is even going to take this little child seriously? And you know that this chick was picked long before this fucking shooting ever fucking happened.
Well, every time I saw that shit about these two actor children trying to convince people to give up their guns, I was like, Trump 2020. Trump 2020. Trump 2020. Like, that's all they're doing.
Not if Biden runs, you can kiss that goodbye. And again, he's not building the wall. He got elected for saying the wall, and now you're not going to build the wall. You're fucking out. I'm sorry. I don't.
How do you know
he's
he's not going to build the wall? You don't know that yet.
It's not happening. It's done.
Know.
It's over. It's
not over yet. It's not over yet.
Our first live stream, me and you, we were talking prototypes. What was that? 6 to 8 months ago, our first live stream.
Yeah.
Nothing's been done about it.
I thought there was some mention of it or some movements for it. I mean, nothing.
He went to the prototype a few days before passing an omnibus bill that said there's going to be no funding for the wall. But we'll fund Lebanon and Jordan's wall to
Holy
keep Syria.
Shit, are you serious? Well, that's fucked up.
Oh, I'm dead serious.
That's fucked up, man. So, Apology Man says, I'm agnostic, but the Bible's pretty red-pilled. Yeah, I'd say the Bible's pretty red. So is the Quran. If you want red pill, read the Quran, man. You want fucking red pill? Read the fucking Quran. Front to back, read it. You'll come out of that you'll be shitting red pills after you read that stuff.
It's true. And for any holy book for that matter, if you start reading some shit. But again, we're getting off topic of it. But again, you can't be as Andy's discussed. And he didn't say this directly, but it was more indirect in the air. But it's a holy war that's being waged against you. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, and the other thing we kind of signed off on when we talked was the concept of evil, like real evil. And he was mentioning about learning about the whole concept of Podesta and Pizzagate and Hillary Clinton and the connections and the ties and things happening in Haiti. At that moment, his stomach churned and he realized evil is real. It's real. And evil people exist. So,
yeah.
You buckle in,
they're
boys.
Psychopaths. They're people that have no conscience.
No.
And these are the most dangerous. You have to understand that when you think of a psychopath, you think of a sociopath. Again, they're both colloquial terms. They mean the same thing. Yeah. Socio and psychopath.
Yeah.
And me and AM have. If you go back to one of our earlier chats, we had a whole nothing but psychopath talk.
That's right.
There's something called a failed psychopath, which is the one that goes to jail, the one that's committed murder. Yeah. Then there's the one that doesn't go to jail. And they're the white-collar psychopaths. They're the ones that will tank medical stock when it's on the crux of discovering a cure for cancer.
Yeah. They're the ones
And there's
that
some
they're the
people
ones that fool the lie detectors. They fool the lie detectors.
Yeah, because they believe their own lie.
Yeah, they can't
Right.
lie. It's impossible for them to lie.
So this is where we're at. We have the worst of the worst people at the highest power. When did that come about? It's been
Forever.
ongoing. It's been ongoing for, yes, it has been. But there was always just like, let's say a group of 20, there'd be maybe at one time 50 years ago, 3 would be psychopaths. Okay. Fast forward another 5 years. Okay, now they're 6.
Well, they're
All right,
breeding. These people are breeding psychopaths because they're
Right.
teaching that behavior to their children. They're very nepotistic. The people in charge are nepotistic, absolutely, because nepotism is the logical conclusion of a psychopath that reproduces.
Well, look at Al Gore's daughter is married to the great grandson of the guy who funded the Bolshevik Revolution.
Absolutely, they're very strong. They're very conscious of bloodline. They're very nepotistic, conscious of bloodline, and they will molest their own children in order for them to fall to toe the line.
So wait, you're saying it's nepotism and it's all in the family?
Absolutely, it's all in the family.
So do they have a kissing cousin?
They have kissing cousins.
Kissing cousin.
But I don't think Cabin Boy's in the comments section anymore, so he's not going to hear what we're saying.
He got drunk behind a dumpster somewhere.
Yeah, he's drinking the Lysol somewhere.
He got too much red pill for one night.
Yeah, too much red pill. Says,
that was yeah.
Apology Man's still here. He says if the collapse happens, hopefully they get a bullet to the brain. Well,
there's no collapse. It's not happening.
There's no collapse. The problem is that the problem is, and I've mentioned this before to another MGTOW friend of mine, is that all religions and all philosophy that is rooted in religion says that this life is it's pain. This life is not utopia.
No, it's not about, the life is not supposed to be about happiness, and that happens to be one of last Andy's videos about. He did a Good Friday video about this is not about you being happy. Life is not about you're finding yourself and being content and happiness.
No,
I mean, look, my father made a great point that is there any good way of dying? And I'm like, they all suck. You want to die of diabetes? No. You want to die of cancer? No. How about a massive heart attack? No. How about dying of a fire? No. How about dying in a car accident? No. So, meningitis, Ebola, HIV, AIDS. I mean, there's no
old age.
Right, old age.
Even old age.
People get to that, right. You're going to go out in some really fucked up, horrible way, and it's going to be painful and really shitty.
Yeah.
And if you keep going with this fucking affordable healthcare, Canadian healthcare model, no sex, no wife, no money, and here's a big dose of chemo for you to really fucking, the cherry on top to your existence in life.
Apology Man, dying during sex. I don't know, man. Depends on who you're fucking, I guess. Yeah.
A rock star. That's how the bass player for The Who died, by the way.
Like you're in the mid-thrust.
He was fucking a French prostitute, and he died with a fucking hard-on. And they, you didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't know that.
The bass player of The Who died fucking a French prostitute in a hotel in the early morning. And it was obvious that there was a hooker in the room. And that was it. Yeah, he died.
See, you got your dick in a prostitute's vagina.
Imagine being that prostitute. Damn.
I don't know, man. I think I wouldn't mind going out that way. I think I wouldn't mind, man.
I'd actually feel bad for her. Like she's gotta live with that for the rest of her life.
I know. Could you, like, I'm gonna come.
I'm the girl that. Yeah.
And then you got like this stiff on top of you.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
terrible for her.
Yeah, life is not a it's not fun. I just hope not for no meningitis, please, for the love of God, no meningitis. That is definitely not a way I would want to go out.
No bubonic plague, please. No
I'll
fucking.
take the plague over meningitis, man. Dying of a really bad headache does not sound like a fucking pleasant way of
No,
dying.
no, absolutely not. Well, but you're right. I mean, like what we were saying, it's this, and again, I always go back to religion when I say this, and the philosophy of religion and the ideas of it, and the roots of it. Life is not utopia. It's not supposed to be. This is a transitory moment. This is the moment where
That's what the Chinese believe is that this is just a transition period. You know, the reason why the Chinese are so hard and abrasive, you know, and in your face. You know, if you meet a Chinese waitress, it's what you want. You know, well, why do they act like that? Why are they so,
what do you want?
Yeah, what do you want? You buy now or buy later? Okay, you buy now. That's more like Vietnamese. Same deal. It's because they view it life as they take life very seriously. They take life very seriously.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm only here for a brief period, and when you die, it's it. You know, that's
that's the difference, though, is that with even Hinduism, Buddhism, Protestant, Catholic, Islam, every single one of them this is not the end of it. Sorry, nice try again later, but this is transitory. You're actually here now to experience a part of existence, and then when your consciousness doesn't end with the death of the physical mind. So
well, it's a weird Easter to be celebrating with everything that's going on. You know, it's definitely a strange. I mean, hey, look, you know, I told you, and I'm going to share it with my listeners, and this goes back to the whole Bumble. We'll get to the Bumble. We just had Andy Nowicki on. We couldn't do it, but the
we'll
breakdown of the community. Yeah, oh, we're good. Oh, don't you worry. We're gonna get that. I got a girl's phone number first time since being back in the United States, and so I started talking to her, and it became very obvious that she really had no interest in forming a bond of any kind with anybody. And 29 years old, already divorced. He claims that she was in an abusive relationship. Yeah, like I started like, yeah, I'm not
Jesus
fucking.
Jesus Christ.
Like 29 already, divorced, no kids, right? And she told me that she converted to Catholicism from being a Muslim.
That's fascinating.
That's fascinating, and I was like, I really wanted to give her a shot. I was gonna look past her abusive relationship, quote unquote, and it just kind of cascaded into like, you know what, you're just really not that interested. And then I dropped the question. I go, you have a dog, don't you? And then she didn't even respond to it. She just sent me a picture of two massive pit bulls, and I'm just like, you're living with two little pit bulls, two massive pit bulls.
She's fucking them
in a little 400 square foot apartment. So your apartment probably smells like dog shit, ass, and slobber, right? And you probably sleep with those fucking beasts every night.
Yeah, and they
because you have no companion, and probably fucking.
They
right?
fucking.
So here's Easter, and this is what your women are doing, is laying with the beast and acting like they're deities, and the dog are their guards. They're the police. It's fucked up.
Well, you know how you can tell if they're fucking her? Just go meet her with her dogs one day, and you just simply try to approach her, and the dogs will try to rip you apart. Then you know that the dogs are fucking her.
That's it. I never thought of it like that.
No, seriously, because the whole concept of, especially with animals, even in the animal kingdom, males will mount other males as a show of sexual dominance.
Well, that was like that in the Roman Empire with homosexuality also.
Yeah, but exactly. I mean, and that's really what it is. I mean, in the animal kingdom, it's... I love it when liberals go, well, animals are gay too. No, they're not gay. They're not gay. They're just showing dominance. That's all they're doing.
Yeah.
And
who's the alpha?
Yeah, who's the alpha? And so these dogs that are fucking women will consider their women they own them. They're the alpha. The women are their ownership. So if you approach them in any sense to try to even have contact with them, they will show aggression. So it's really easy. You can tell.
Well, that was it. I mean, that was the end of the conversation when she sent the pictures of the dogs. I think I texted her maybe one time after her showing the pictures, and I'm just like, this is it. This is it's not me. I'm no low status fucking beta bitch, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not. I would never ever dare call myself that. You know, as AM puts it, I've been to more countries than you had warm breakfast. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right?
And this is the thing too, man. It's like, look, these chicks, especially this particular chick that you're talking about. She, okay, you said she was a Muslim before and then converted to Catholicism, and she's got dogs.
I'm assuming because of her. I'm gonna assume it's because of her ex-husband. Again, I barely got to speak to her because the conversation just died.
She's got dogs. Do you understand how much Muslims hate dogs?
Again, but where's the father?
Yeah.
Where's the father?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I don't know.
So she's shot.
Yeah.
She's fairly attractive. She doesn't look her age. I thought she definitely wasn't a bitch when I met her in person. Hence why I asked for a phone number. I thought this girl was like, yeah, no, she seems like she can, be okay. And nothing. Nothing. And again, it's all superficial. It's all about who you are and what it's not about. Women in the past would be much more coy and would be able to be. Again, we're going with Esther Villa's manipulated man now. That she would make the man work for her, and see a long-term investment in the guy. So she'd ask me a couple of her litmus tests, and I already see the litmus test is very shallow.
Well, you were going to become the third dog.
Right.
That's basically what you were. You were going to become the third dog, but a human dog. Like, she's tired of the animal dogs. Now she wants a human dog. So you were going to become the third dog, and she had to fucking make sure, because think about it. In that kind of relationship, you are a dog. That's all you are.
That's fine. Feed me and fuck me and pet me, okay? I have no problem being the dog.
No. The dog. Okay, the animal dog can't pay for her rent, but the animal dog will be loyal to death until death to protect her, and that's what she wants. And when it's a human dog, that loyalty until death isn't in the form of barking at strangers, but paying the bills.
Right. So the thing was, during her litmus test, I saw it was very shallow. Okay. So who do you live with? What kind of car do you drive? Like, again, very basic. She didn't even why don't you ask what's in my bank account? But she's gonna base me off of very superficial aesthetic fucking bullshit. I realized that this woman has again, she wants someone to take care of her, or
Absolutely.
I couldn't even really be honest. I couldn't even tell you.
Well, those two pit bulls basically perform 50% of the human male function for her, right?
Right.
They fuck her and they protect her. The only thing they don't do is pay her bills. That's it. And she could actually probably train them to do that in some way if she was smart enough.
Well, let's go with Dave Sim. The Dave Sim says that the women act as an ambassador to the animal world because women are that fucking stupid that they have more in common with a canine than they do with an actual with another human being.
Well, then we can also go and quote Esther Vilar, and says that an attractive woman theoretically could have the IQ of a chimp and still be considered a functional member of society.
That's right. So it's pretty I don't know whether it's scary. It's just weird. I mean, we'll get more into this in that stream, but it just I realize that it's not me, and I'm telling this to all you other guys who feel bad that you're not getting laid. It's not you. It's not you. You probably are really fucking cool. You probably really are. The music you listen to, the books you read, the movies you love, the things that you have done with your life, what you've accomplished with your work and stuff, That's alpha male amongst men. And you need validation from other men, not fucking women.
You know, if you really want to get laid, come over to Southern Alberta, and I'll introduce you to an 18-year-old native chick. You can fuck her. All you gotta do is buy her a bottle of Lysol. You can fuck
Lysol. It's even she's doing whippets off a Lysol bottle. But unfortunately, what it is, and it goes back to SWL, is again, men want the validation from women because it's the deity, it's the mother complex, and I forgot, I think it was MGTOW Warrior that was ripping into me that during that one live stream, is that men look to marry their grandmothers, women look to marry a penile version of themselves, and that penile version of themselves at this point in time in North America is a dog.
It's a dog. Yeah, it's absolutely a dog. It's a dog.
That's how retarded she is.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Nick, I've gotten since I've been back in Canada and working for those Koreans at the liquor store. I've got like half a dozen phone numbers in my pocket. Right, and it's
great. You didn't tell me that. It's awesome.
I've got half a dozen, and these are who these women are. They're and I didn't ask for them. They were given to me, and they are older women that are single. They are younger native chicks. There's a couple younger women, but I haven't called any of those numbers.
But it's never what you want. Have you got a phone number of the one that you would want to fucking be with?
No, absolutely not.
There you go. Right.
Absolutely not. But no, there's a lot of hot young native chicks. Just a week ago, I got the number of a 18-year-old native girl, and she's very attractive, and she's got one more year left before she hits the wall. Because native women here, especially the ones I see, is after about the age of 20, they hit the wall because they hit the wall because of abuse of drugs and alcohol, and they go from like smoking hot to Danny DeVito playing the Penguin in like fucking 1 year. It's fucking incredible.
Wearing a dirty sweatshirt, walking around a strip mall.
It's absolutely incredible, man. It's absolutely incredible. So if a young 18-year-old native woman gives me her number, I'm like, holy shit, God, maybe I should give it a call, because in a year, she's gonna be fucking swimming in the river with penguins. So fuck this shit. Hit it now. But again, it's not important to me anymore. I'm not your age. I'm an older man, so I don't really need it.
Well, that woman obviously failed my litmus test, and that's why I didn't want to even bother messaging her anymore, or even bother calling. I'm just like, if that's what you're gonna base it off of, and you're not gonna ask a single question about me, I'm not. I don't care how nice your tits are, how round your ass is. I had.
If you're looking, are you looking for a relationship? Are you looking for a relationship, or are you just looking for a fucking screw?
I'm seeing what the fuck is out there, and also, not to mind you, I need content for this fucking channel, so I got to see what else is going on and see what the psychology makeup. I need to know the enemy.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I need my roll my footage. Okay, like a Monday morning quarterback. I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of these big cow guys, they don't fucking know fuck all about Western women, what's really going on. Yeah, they want money. Yeah, and then it becomes a fucking echo chamber of MGTOW guys. All they do is hypergamy.
Well, that's TFM's channel. That's TFM's channel. Go there if you want that.
There's so many offshoots now, MGTOW channels, MGTOW 101, or actually that's a real channel. I was gonna make up a MGTOW channel name.
MGTOW 101 is a real channel. I think it got removed actually.
Oh wow, that's sad too.
Remember that photo I sent you of all those removed channels?
He was on there.
I think he was on there. Wow.
Hey, Luke holds the record. He's like the first one to get taken down. Fucking Luke. MGTOW Expat was like the first MGTOW channel to get fucking barred.
Oh yeah, and he's not in the chats anymore. Yeah, MGTOW Expat. He said he's got 19 days left, so he's not barred for life. He was put in jail.
He's got an expat 2, expat 3, expat 8, expat 3A. Expat alpha, expat whatever. Anyway,
so hold on. Apology Man said, "What the wall is 22? What the fuck?" Yes, Apology Man. Native women in southern Alberta that frequently come from the two large reservations, which are Standoff and Brockett. These are all Kainai Indians. We call them Blackfoot in English. Blackfoot and Pagan in English, but they're all these local native. Their women, some of their women are incredibly attractive. Unbelievable, like seriously, like when they're young, when they're 16, 17, 18, up until 20, they are incredibly attractive women. But their culture is so fucked up that they end up drinking, they end up doing drugs, they're living on the street. Their window is so small. By the time they're 22, like I said, they're Danny DeVito playing the Penguin in Batman. That's it. They're fucked up. So yeah.
Yep.
Kind of sad.
So, let's end it because I'm about to fall asleep.
Okay, man. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you that tuned in late, you did miss anything with Andy Nowicki, and I suggest please. I put a link in the description for his YouTube channel. Go check it out. He's also an author. He has some incredible books to read. And we'll be back next weekend.
Go to T Kelly 67's channel. I can't really stress that channel enough. That is the most underrated YouTube channel of all time.
T Kelly 27.
And you'll see some of Andy's work on T Kelly 67's channel, along with some other topics that kind of correlate with MGTOW and what it is that's going on around the world. And that's
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
All right, and thanks for tuning in, guys. Always appreciated. Love you guys. Come in every time we chat. Let's build up the community. Let's reach out, talk to different people, and really make things work. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the flip side.